Chapter 2712. Zhang Qingxiao took out the black jade arrowboat from her storage pouch and flew up. When Xiaohua also boarded, she controlled the flying boat and sneered, "What do you know about arrays? The arrays on the Dawnrain continent have long declined. My teleportation array isn't something the ordinary arrays on the Dawnrain continent can compare to. If I were to reveal this array formation to the outside world, wouldn't the cultivation sects of the three kingdoms target me and fight to the death with me? As for your grand universe teleportation token, to tell you the truth, I don't care about it." Zhang Qingxiao glanced at Xiaohua and said, "That thing is used by Meng to build a super long-distance teleportation array from the country of Shi to Mount Meng. I'm still worried about people coming from there. Why would I want your grand universe teleportation token? You should keep it for yourself." Speaking up to here, Zhang Qingxiao even exhorted, "Actually, according to my plan, you should destroy that thing right now. Let me give the grand universe teleportation token that can't be repaired to Meng so that he can stop thinking about it. However, I know you're the most stingy and can't bear to part with this thing. Since you can't bear to part with it, you should keep it well and not let others take it away from you." "This is really a hot potato." Xiaohua smiled bitterly. "I can't get rid of it no matter what. Why can't you get rid of it? You can't bear to part with it." Zhang Qingxiao hit the nail on the head. "You're the one who can't bear to part with it." Xiaohua curled his lips and said, "I have the Capital Star Array here. Do you want it?" "Capital Star Array? You really have it?" Zhang Qingxiao's body trembled, and the black jade arrowboat almost stopped in midair. "Really, as long as you give me your teleportation array," Xiaohua said proudly. Unfortunately, Xiaohua miscalculated this time. Zhang Qingxiao closed her eyes for a long time and shook her head. "I'm afraid I can't promise you this. This teleportation array is the foundation of my heavenly demon sect. It's not a big deal to give it to you. However, I know that you have feelings for the Imperial Thunder sect. Who knows when you'll give the teleportation array to the Imperial Thunder sect on a whim. This is a huge threat to my heavenly demon sect. Besides, the Capital Star Array is an ancient ominous array. Even if you have it, you can't comprehend it. I can't. Rather than holding on to this kind of chicken rib, it's better not to have it." Zhang Qingxiao added, "Are you sure you don't want it?" Xiaohua said somewhat unwillingly. Don't mention this again." Zhang Qingxiao was still very principled. She waved her hand, but when she saw that Xiaohua was a little disappointed, she couldn't help but explain, "Actually, this teleportation array is different from the teleportation array on the Dawnrain continent. When the cultivators of the Dao sect obtained the array, they could only study how to destroy it. It's basically impossible to set it up successfully." "Oh, I understand." Xiaohua suddenly understood. "Is this the technique of your demon realm?" "That's as good." Zhang Qingxiao nodded and looked into the distance. "We'll reach Yellow Flower Ridge in a few days. You should try to comprehend the spirit-slaying light. I still need it to save my life." "Yes, I understand." Xiaohua understood and sat cross-legged on the black jade arrowboat. He calmly comprehended the devil slip given by Zhang Qingxiao. As for the mind in the space, Xiaohua let it continue to comprehend the sword-controlling technique. Moreover, since Xiaohua sent all his primordial spirits out of the sword tomb and went through the thunder tribulation in the heart sword, he felt that these primordial spirits had a strange change. Although the primordial spirits had been separated, Xiaohua felt that they were still a whole. There were countless connections between the primordial spirits. At this time, although this feeling was still there, Xiaohua felt that the connections between the primordial spirits were gradually being severed. Each primordial spirit seemed to be slowly becoming independent. His perception of each primordial spirit was becoming clearer and clearer. It was far from the previous vague feeling. In particular, the speed of the primordial spirit comprehending the technique was obviously much faster than before. Even Xiaohua's own primordial spirit couldn't keep up with the speed of this primordial spirit's comprehension. Could it be this thunder tribulation really has death and life and death? Xiaohua was a little worried in his heart. That day, Little White Dragon only let me release the primordial spirit that cultivated the soul cultivation technique, but I released all my primordial spirits. Will there be any disadvantages in the future? The main primordial spirit's control over the other primordial spirits. Won't there be any problems, right? Maybe I really have to find some secret techniques that can strengthen the primordial spirit. As this primordial spirit splitting technique went further and further, Xiaohua began to have a bad premonition in his heart. He even began to regret his previous actions. However, just like drinking poison to quench thirst, Xiaohua clearly knew that there would be some problems, but he still had a fluke mentality. Every time, he wanted to see how this primordial spirit splitting technique would grow. Every time, he wanted to see the profoundness of this secret technique. Xiaohua even wanted to see what kind of situation it would be when all his primordial spirits reached great accomplishment. Moreover, for Xiaohua's cultivation, time was the biggest problem. He knew too many cultivation methods and secret arts, and the things he could cultivate were also too many. It was impossible for him to cultivate step by step like an ordinary cultivator, so he could only find a new path. Moreover, this primordial spirit splitting technique was extremely suitable for his needs. If he cultivated with several primordial spirits together, cultivating for 1 year was equivalent to cultivating for several years for others. If you wanted him to suddenly cut off his wrists, he would have to be resolute in order to do so. Not to mention, at this moment, he had only tasted the sweetness of the primordial spirit's splitting technique and had yet to taste the bitterness. Everything was just a feeling. Seeing Xiaohua closing his eyes and meditating, Zhang Qingxiao was very gratified. He tried his best to urge the inky jade arrow boat, but how could he know that Xiaohua's mind had long been open, and his speed was even faster than the inky jade arrow boat? Zhang Qingxiao said that it would take a few days, but after flying for more than 10 days, they finally arrived at Yellow Flower Ridge. Seeing the familiar thick fog in his divine sense, Xiaohua couldn't help but stand up. Zhang Qingxiao, who was steering the boat, also revealed a smile in his eyes. Yellow Flower Ridge is nearby. You didn't set up a transmission formation? Xiaohua asked with some surprise. Yellow Flower Ridge is Yellow Flower Ridge, not the Heavenly Demon Sect. This is what I promised you earlier. Zhang Qingxiao wasn't surprised at Xiaohua's question and replied proudly. But if something happens to Yellow Flower Ridge, can you be the fastest to arrive? Xiaohua was dissatisfied. If something happens to Senior's sister, can you bear the responsibility? Zhang Qingxiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He scolded, "You're the one who didn't let me manage Yellow Flower Ridge, and you're the one who let me manage Yellow Flower Ridge. What do you want me to do? Do I care or not? I only said that I don't want you to care about Yellow Flower Ridge. I didn't say that I don't want you to care about Senior's sister." Xiaohua retorted without any trace of politeness. "Humph," Zhang Qingxiao snorted and said, "You don't need to care about this. I naturally have a way. Didn't I arrive very quickly last time? You better have a way." Xiaohua sneered. "Otherwise, I won't let your Heavenly Demon Sect have an easy time. Who do you think you are? You think you can shake my Heavenly Demon Sect?" Zhang Qingxiao was displeased. "You might have been able to before, but now, I'm afraid you don't have the strength. In the future, don't even talk about it. I'm not boasting, but in the future, other than my Heavenly Demon Sect, who else can be called the #1 sect on the Dawnrain mainland?" I don't believe it. Xiaohua naturally had his own fortune gate. He knew that the fortune gate's potential was definitely not inferior to the Heavenly Demon Sect. "If you don't believe me, I won't compete with you. Just wait and see," Zhang Qingxiao said through her nose. "Why aren't we moving?" Seeing that they were still far from Yellow Flower Ridge, Zhang Qingxiao stopped the black jade arrow boat. Xiaohua said with dissatisfaction, "Aren't we just talking about your Heavenly Demon Sect? You don't have to stop us from riding the flying boat, right? Come down. I'm not as narrow-minded as you." Zhang Qingxiao scolded with a smile. "Yellow Flower Ridge's patrol area is not far ahead. I'll let you see if I've lived up to my promise to you." "Oh, okay." Xiaohua came to his senses and jumped down from the flying boat. Sure enough, Zhang Qingxiao put away the black jade arrow boat and followed Xiaohua for a few dozen li. When they were about 50 li away from Yellow Flower Ridge, several 10th layer Qi refining disciples flew over from a distance. These disciples were all wearing the 100 Herbs Gates uniform. When they saw Xiao Hua and Zhang Qingxiao, their faces immediately showed signs of vigilance. One of the disciples immediately turned around, while the others came forward to greet them. Junior Chao Ming of the 100 Herbs Gate at Yellow Flower Ridge greets the two seniors. May I know why the seniors have come to my Yellow Flower Ridge? At the front, a middle-aged man in his 30s asked politely with a smile on his face, cupping his hands in a respectful manner. Xiao Hua and Zhang Qingxiao had concealed their cultivation, so Chao Ming could clearly see that they were early-stage foundation establishment cultivators. However, despite their youthful appearances, they were actually at the early stage of foundation establishment. It was obvious that they had some background. Chao Ming naturally didn't dare to slight them. Although he was on guard, he still greeted them respectfully. Although Zhang Qingxiao concealed her cultivation, she didn't change her appearance. Seeing Chao Ming respectfully greet them and even ask questions in a well-behaved manner, her face showed a hint of surprise. She looked at Xiao Hua but didn't say anything. Seeing this, Xiao Hua also smiled. It hadn't even been 10 years since Zhang Qingxiao eliminated the 100 Herbs Gates remnants in Yellow Flower Ridge. During these 10 years, Yellow Flower Ridge was already patrolled by 10th layer Qi refining disciples. Although Xiao Hua hadn't seen the changes in Yellow Flower Ridge, he could see Zhang Qingxiao's good intentions and Xiao Xianrui's painstaking efforts from the patrolling disciples. Since Zhang Qingxiao didn't say anything, Xiao Hua naturally could not speak. He cupped his hands and said with a smile, "I am Xiao Ding of the Splendid Sect. I'm acquainted with Jiang Fan of your 100 Herbs Gate. Today I've specially come to visit fellow Taoist Jiang." Jiang Fan? When Chao Ming heard that the two foundation establishment cultivators were here to see Jiang Fan, his expression changed greatly. Since he was a disciple of the 100 Herbs Gate and was also a 10th layer Qi refining disciple, he naturally had some understanding of Yellow Flower Ridge. Although he didn't understand why Jiang Jiantong and the other gate masters had fallen in such a short period of time, leaving only Xiao Xianrui, the wife of the young gate master, in charge of the gate, he was astute enough to infer that something was fishy. Chapter 27:13. What? Isn't Jiang Fan at Yellow Flower Ridge? Seeing Chao Ming's expression change, Xiao Huan naturally frowned and said unhappily. He left a message before asking I and the others to come and find him. Is he at Medicine Farmer Peak? Chao Ming looked at the ill-looking Xiao Hua, then looked at Zhang Qingxiao, whose face was as calm as water. He even looked at the nearby disciples whose eyes were flickering. He slightly bit his lips, bowed and said, "I wonder when Senior Xiao saw Vice Sect Master Zhang's message." This. Xiao Hua raised his head and thought for a moment, then smiled. Last year? Or the year before last? This Xiao doesn't remember clearly. So it's like that. Hearing Xiao Hua's words, Chao Ming had a rough idea of what was going on. Smiling apologetically, he said, "Seniors, I'll let you know. About 8 or 9 years ago, our 100 Herbs Gate suddenly experienced some unforeseen events. Gate Master Jiang and his family all fell seriously ill. Of the entire gate, only the young Gate Master's wife survived. However, the young Gate Master's wife was also ill. The original 100 Herbs Gate disciples took the opportunity to loot 100 Herbs Gate's foundation and scattered. Today's 100 Herbs Gate is being rebuilt by sect leader Xiao on the abandoned foundation of 100 Herbs Gate." Oh, there's such a thing? Xiao Hua was shocked. When this Xiao and Jiang Fan parted, it seemed he was about to enter foundation establishment. We cultivators, how could there be any serious illness? Chao Ming smiled bitterly. The specific situation, this junior doesn't know. This junior only entered 100 Herbs Gate 6 years ago. What about the previous 100 Herbs Gate disciples? None left? Xiao Hua said in astonishment. Yes, sect leader Jiang died, and only sect leader Xiao and young sect leader were left. It's already good that those 100 Herbs Gate disciples didn't take the opportunity to seize my 100 Herbs Gate's foundation. Chao Ming sighed with emotion. Under sect leader Zhao's planning, Today's 100 Herbs Gate is becoming more and more prosperous, far from what it used to be. As he spoke, Chao Ming stole a glance at Xiao Hua's expression. This Xiao has seen Jiang Fan's dual cultivation partner. She seems to have the same surname as this Xiao. Xiao Hua coldly snorted and said, "However, from what I've seen, this female cultivator's character is irresolute and indecisive, far inferior to Jiang Yan. How could she possibly manage a cultivation sect to be so prosperous? What's more, Jiang Jiantong and the others died of illness. Didn't any other cultivators who were on good terms with them ask about it?" Senior Xiao. When Chao Ming heard this, although his face was filled with respect, his tone was somewhat indifferent. What Senior said is all Senior's conjecture and cannot be taken seriously. There are quite a few cultivators who are acquainted with Senior Jiang, the former sect master of 100 Herbs Gate. Even the 10,000 Flowers Valley once sent their disciples over. After all, Senior Yutsong of the 10,000 Flowers Valley was Senior Jiang and his dual cultivation partner. However, several years have passed, and the 10,000 Flowers Valley has not raised any objections. If Senior wants to go to Yellow Flower Ridge to pay a visit to my clan leader, this junior can naturally lead the way. But if Senior is here and interrogating this junior, please forgive this junior's rudeness. Oh, I'm a disciple of the Shanghua sect. Although Jiang Fan isn't a good friend of mine, I've met him a few times. As for his matters, I'll really ask more. As Xiao Hua spoke, he flung his Taoist robe. Not to mention Chao Ming. Even the several seventh-layer Qi refining disciples near Chao Ming were imprisoned by Xiao Hua. Seeing Xiao Hua make a move, Zhang Qingxiao frowned. He hadn't uttered a word all this time because he wanted Xiao Hua to see his magnanimity. Xiao Hua's interrogation was one thing, but once he made a move, Zhang Qingxiao's face would be somewhat embarrassed. Although these 100 Herbs Gate disciples weren't personally selected by him, he still ordered the heavenly demonic sect disciples to do this. Xiao Hua clearly didn't trust the heavenly demonic sect, right? Moreover, this Chao Ming's manners were proper, and he truly had the bearing of a disciple of a famous sect. Senior Xiao. Although Chao Ming was somewhat flustered, he still hurriedly said, "Senior, you're a foundation establishment senior and a disciple of the Shanghua sect." This junior heard that the disciples of the Shanghua sect are the most impartial and strict. "Senior, why are you making things difficult for my 100 Herbs Gate because of your conjecture? I just want to ask, how Jiang Fan died? What, death from illness or something like that? I don't believe it at all," Xiao Hua said coldly. Hearing this, Chao Ming sneered and said, "Senior Xiao, you just said that you have the same surname as my sect master Xiao. The old saying is right. 500 years ago, you were one family. Senior, you don't believe in your own family. So why do you believe in the rumors of others?" "Oh, what rumors?" Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "I never said anything about rumors. You said it yourself." Senior Xiao, there are no rumors in this world. When people talk about it too much, it's just a rumor. Chao Ming didn't fall for it and said with a cold snort, "Sect Master Xiao on my 100 Herbs Gate is a female cultivator, so naturally, there are many sects that have designs on my 100 Herbs Gate. If Senior was bewitched by others and came to make trouble, this junior still advises Senior to stop. After all, the Shanghua sect is a great sect in my country of Shi. My 100 Herbs Gate doesn't dare to provoke the Shanghua sect, and we don't want to provoke the Shanghua sect either. But what if this Xiao wants to get to the bottom of it?" Xiao Hua giggled, revealing his pure white teeth. Chao Ming sighed and said very firmly, "This junior's cultivation is shallow, so I'm naturally no match for Senior and the others. However, this junior entered 100 Herbs Gate as a loose cultivator and has received a lot of favor from 100 Herbs Gate. This junior would rather live and die with 100 Herbs Gate." "Good, live and die with you." Xiao Hua laughed and waved his hand, increasing the power of imprisonment. "This is what you want to sacrifice your life for, so of course I can fulfill your wish. However, you only need to tell me the rumors from your mouth, and I can let you live. Otherwise, I will kill you all and then kill my way to Yellow Flower Ridge. Senior, spare my life, spare my life." Before Chao Ming could speak, a seventh-layer Qi refining disciple hurriedly shouted, "This junior only entered Hunter Herb's gate last year. This junior is willing to tell Senior the truth about the death of the previous sect Master Jiang." "Oh, very good." A smile appeared on Xiaohua's face. With a wave of his hand, the imprisonment of the seventh-layer Qi refining disciple immediately disappeared. He said with a smile, "This Xiao knew it. Between life and death, there's bound to be some great opportunities." "Fanja," Chao Ming was furious and cursed. "You entered my Hunter Herb's gate, but what did this Chao do to you? Could it be that because of this little threat, you're pouring unwarranted dirty water on Sect Master Xiao?" Fanja sneered. "Hunter Herb's gate is only a thumb-sized sect. How can it compare to the magnificent sect? In the past, Hunter Herb's gate was able to survive in Yellow Flower Ridge because Senior Xiao of the magnificent sect didn't know about it. Now that Senior Xiao of the magnificent sect has come to redress sect Master Zhang's grievances, does this Hunter Herb's gate still need to exist?" "Good, well said." Xiao Hua clapped and said, "This young master is going to settle old scores with you all." Then Xiao Hua said to the others, "What are you waiting for? Do you want to live or die?" The others looked at each other, their faces deathly pale. One of them saw Xiao Hua's question and hurriedly said with a smile, "Senior Xiao, this junior entered Hunter Herb's gate earlier than Fanja, so I've heard about the changes in Hunter Herb's gate. But, as you know, the life and death of this sect is really nothing." "What rumors?" What's the use of saying so much?" Xiao Hua sneered. "This young master only wants to ask you all, do you want to die? If you don't want to die, you all naturally know what to do. Senior, spare us." Several people also begged for mercy, and Xiao Hua's expression was even more brilliant. At the same time, he felt somewhat bitter in his heart. At this juncture of life and death, how many people could keep their hearts? But the following words from several people stunned Xiao Hua again. "Senior, please spare our lives. We've been disciples of Hunter Herb's gate for many years, and we're just ordinary disciples. We don't know anything about the rumors you've told us. Although we don't intend to live and die with Hunter Herb's gate, we still hope that Senior will be magnanimous and spare our lives. And that's already good enough." Xiao Hua nodded slightly. Just as he was about to speak, he heard Zhang Qingxiao say coldly from the side, "Why waste so much breath? Just kill him." "Don't." Xiao Hua was slightly taken aback. Just as he was about to block, he saw Zhang Qingxiao wave her hand, and a ray of light flashed, attacking the disciple named Fanja. Thus, he moved but stopped. In fact, he didn't intend to kill him. At most, he would just expel Fanja from Hunter Herb's gate. After all, this was a choice between life and death, so it was inevitable that it would be unfair. But in the end, Fanja actually said that there was no need for Hunter Herb's gate to exist. For a disciple of Hunter Herb's gate, this was truly unforgivable. "Senior," Fanja only had time to cry out in alarm before the ray of light hit his body. Fanja didn't have time to resist at all, and his corpse immediately fell from midair. Aside from Xiao Hua, the others didn't even see how Fanja was killed. "Ha ha ha, forget it." Xiao Hua waved his hand, and the imprisonment of Chao Ming and the other disciples completely disappeared. "Just now I was just joking. Don't mention this to others. This is a little compensation for me." After saying that, Xiao Hua flew up first, and before he left, he waved his hand again, and a few spiritual pills fell into the hands of Chao Ming and the others. Zhang Qingxiao paused for a moment, and her gaze swept across the people who were begging for mercy just now. The coldness in her eyes made their hearts tremble. However, Zhang Qingxiao didn't say much, and she also turned around and flew into the sky, chasing after Xiao Hua. Not long after, she disappeared from everyone's sight. What's going on?" Chao Ming looked at the spiritual pills in his hand. There was no medicinal fragrance on them, and he felt very puzzled. However, he was very clear that this so-called Xiao Ding of Shanghua sect was definitely not an old friend of Jiang Fan, and they definitely didn't come here to avenge Jiang Jiantong and the others of Hunter Herb's Gate. As for why, Aside from Xiao Hua and Zhang Qingxiao, who else could know? That's right, why? Up until now, Chao Ming was still baffled. He had asked a bunch of questions for no reason, imprisoned them for no reason, and killed an aura-refining disciple for no reason. Then, he turned around and left as if he was some kind of expert. However, this matter left an unforgettable impression in the hearts of Chao Ming and the other disciples. Chapter 27:14. Alas, that's a foundation establishment, senior. We aura-refining disciples are nothing but lambs waiting to be slaughtered. What choice do we have? Chao Ming couldn't see the value of the medicinal pill in his hand. What the Hunter Herb sect lacked the least was medicinal pills, so he casually put it away. Looking at the other disciples who were also in a state of shock, he waved his hand and said, "Let's go. Collect Fanja's corpse and return to Yellow Flower Ridge. We'll wait for Lord Sect Master's orders." Senior Marshal Brother Chao. What's going on? Those who had a good relationship with Chao Ming naturally had to ask. How would I know what's going on? Chao Ming shook his head slightly. We're just children in the eyes of Foundation establishment seniors. They can do whatever they want with us. However, from what happened to Fanja, we have to follow our hearts no matter what the situation is. We have to ask our conscience before we say or do anything. At this point, Chao Ming's heart suddenly jumped. He turned his head and looked in the direction Xiao Hua and Zhang Qingxiao disappeared. What's wrong? Senior Marshal Brother Chao? Everyone turned pale with fright. They thought Chao Ming had discovered the two of them had returned. No, nothing, Chao Ming said in a low voice. What I said just now seemed to have made me understand a principle of cultivation. Senior Marshal Brother Chao's words? Let Senior Marshal Brother Chao understand it himself? Everyone was puzzled. Alas, that's right, Chao Ming sighed. A clear conscience. This is the true essence of cultivation. Only in this way can our mental states be pure and our Tao hearts be exquisite. The disciples around the seventh layer of aura refining nodded as if they understood. Anyone could say this, but which cultivator in this world could comprehend it? Chao Ming was forced by Xiao Hua between life and death, yet he was able to comprehend this. To him, this was more than just a lucky chance. Xiao Hua, who didn't know that he had once again helped a cultivator gain enlightenment, was still complaining from afar. Second Senior Marshal Brother, little brother was only scaring those aura-refining disciples. You didn't have to be so ruthless, right? Humph. If it weren't for you, I would have killed all those disciples. Zhang Qingxiao said coldly. You're already a disciple of Yellow Flower Ridge, and you still dare to be a fence-sitter. This is also my fault. Xiao Hua sighed. He knew that Zhang Qingxiao had lost face and was in a bad mood. He said, it's just a test. It's not appropriate to make such a big commotion and make people choose between life and death. Actually, from what I see, other than Fanja, everyone else is good. After all, it's already commendable that you didn't say anything bad about Yellow Flower Ridge under my coercion. That Chao Ming is not bad, Zhang Qingxiao lightly said. Only a disciple like him is worthy to be a disciple of Yellow Flower Ridge. But disciples like Chao Ming, how many can there be in Yellow Flower Ridge? Xiao Hua said with a smile. Even this Xiao knows that I wouldn't be so loyal to the Imperial Thunder sect. You don't have to blame yourself, Zhang Qingxiao still said indifferently. Although you killed the cultivators of the Imperial Thunder sect, you might not be able to betray the sect. How do you know that this young master killed the disciples of the Imperial Thunder sect? Xiao Hua was shocked and looked at Zhang Qingxiao with an inconceivable gaze. Zhang Qingxiao slightly frowned, knowing that she had misspoken. She hurriedly remedied the situation and sneered. My heavenly demon sect has only been established for a few years and has yet to establish a sect in the Dawn Rain continent. There are already countless filthy people in the sect who kill each other. Your Imperial Thunder sect is so big, and you want to hide your cultivation. I'm afraid that there are many Imperial Thunder sect disciples eyeing you, right? If you don't kill one or two of them, can you hide your matter? Xiao Hua's eyes narrowed and stared straight at Zhang Qingxiao, as if pondering the truth of Zhang Qingxiao's words. What? You still want to kill me to silence me? Zhang Qingxiao was not afraid and coldly stared at Xiaohua. What's the benefit of killing you to silence you? Xiaohua raised the corner of his mouth and asked, if I kill you, who will give me the nascent soul stage cultivation method? Now you know my benefits? Zhang Qingxiao disdainfully said, just now you were testing me to see if I would extend my hand to Yellow Flower Ridge. Do I need to do that? I have such a big heavenly demon sect and will definitely be the #1 sect in the Dawn Rain continent in the future. Do I have the time to care about Yellow Flower Ridge? If you want to talk about Fanja's death, it's because of you. Fanja's heart is against the outside. Even if you and I don't force him, if he encounters something in the future, he will definitely rebel against Yellow Flower Ridge. Xiaohua sneered and said, his death is also inevitable. I will definitely not allow anyone who rebels against Yellow Flower Ridge to live in this world. However, at the same time, I also don't want a heavenly demon sect to take root in Yellow Flower Ridge. Therefore, I have to try. Otherwise, I won't be at ease. This is your method? What did you find out? Zhang Qingxiao ridiculed. Even if I put a few spies, it's also for junior sister's good. If something happens to her, and I'm not nearby, wouldn't it be troublesome? It's normal for you to put a few people. I don't care about it. I'm just afraid that these people will have evil intentions, or that they will do things half-heartedly. Xiaohua explained, for example, this disciple recruitment, the good and the bad are mixed together. It's very bad. Speaking of recruiting disciples, Zhang Qingxiao's face darkened. The current disciples of 100 Herbs Gate had indeed been arranged by Zhang Qingxiao. During the recruitment, they had been carefully selected. Every disciple had excellent aptitude, but after all, there was no knowing what a person's heart was. Xiaohua had caught Fanja, and Zhang Qingxiao had nothing to say. You haven't been a gate master, so you don't know the trouble. Zhang Qingxiao wanted to explain, but after saying half a sentence, she waved her hand and said, why am I telling you this? This is my Yellow Flower Ridge. I'm not at ease with you. Why are you not at ease with me? Ha ha, Xiaohua laughed loudly. Of course, Zhang Qingxiao was Shang Huaming's true second disciple, and he was the half-disciple who hadn't entered the sect yet. Please, second senior brother, don't tell me you don't know how to enter Yellow Flower Ridge? Xiaohua raised his hand and said happily, of course I know. Zhang Qingxiao looked at Xiaohua with a strange expression and asked, don't tell me you don't know how to enter. Me? Of course I don't know. Xiaohua was somewhat baffled. The jade slip that junior sister gave you already indicated how to enter and exit the array. Zhang Qingxiao sneered. You flaunted your concern for Yellow Flower Ridge, but you didn't even look at the jade slip that junior sister gave you. Xiaohua blushed with shame and said with a smile, there are many things that junior brother wanted to see. Junior brother only looked at the jade slip roughly and didn't comprehend it in detail, so you explained to your junior sister. Zhang Qingxiao took the lead and flew up. Finally, she managed to regain some of her face. When she flew near the back mountain of Yellow Flower Ridge, Zhang Qingxiao clapped her hand and picked up a jade slip similar to the one Shang Huaming used before. She carefully looked at the jade slip and circulated the magic power in her hand. The jade slip emitted a faint white light, and as Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand, the white light fell on the thick fog, and the fog began to roll as if it was boiling. After a sizzling sound, a passage appeared in the thick fog. Zhang Qingxiao's hand seals and hand gestures were exactly the same as Xiaohua's before he left Yellow Flower Ridge. At that time, Xiaohua couldn't see the mystery of the hand seals and only felt that it was very difficult to understand. At this moment, although Xiaohua saw the hand seals clearly, the familiar hand seals warmed his heart. He knew very well that Yellow Blossom Ridge was the place where his memories began. He was afraid that he would never be able to forget everything about Yellow Blossom Ridge. It was also because of Yellow Blossom Ridge's existence that he and Zhang Qingxiao, the sect master of the Heavenly Demon Sect, had a balanced intersection. Even in the future, the Heavenly Demon Sect and Fortune Gate would have a subtle balance. Yes, the Heavenly Demon Sect was still in its embryonic form, But under Zhang Qingxiao's planning, it was gradually revealing its ferocious teeth. Just as Zhang Qingxiao said, the 13 holy sects would definitely be the #1 sect on Dawnrain continent in the future. And the Fortune Gate? It didn't even have an embryonic form now. Whether it would even exist in the future was unknown. Zhang Qingxiao didn't know the power of Taoist Xiao, and didn't know the influence of Taoist Zhao's name on cultivation. Therefore, she didn't know the reputation of the Fortune Gate after its establishment. However, Xiao Hua knew that he could faintly foresee that the future of Dawnrain mainland was going to change rapidly, and the Fortune Gate would definitely stand out in this era. He even had a feeling that the Fortune Gate's achievements might not necessarily lose to the heavenly demon sects. And this unremarkable Shang Huaming, a small sect with only 3.5 disciples, would be the origin of 2 great sects. Please, junior brother. Looking at Xiao Hua in a daze, Zhang Qingxiao said warmly. Please, second senior brother. Seeing Zhang Qingxiao's rare amiability, Xiao Hua also smiled. Zhang Qingxiao didn't stand on ceremony and flew into the passage, followed by Xiao Hua with a smile on his face. After passing through the array and seeing the familiar scenery, Xiao Hua had mixed feelings and said in a low voice, Second senior brother, little brother has wronged you. Please forgive me. This is my yellow flower ridge. Of course I will restore it to its former state. Zhang Qingxiao said proudly. I never care how you look at me. Xiao Hua didn't bicker with her and asked, Where's senior sister and Jiangler? I heard from junior sister that they are at Cherishing Flower Peaks Herb Garden. Zhang Qingxiao said casually. Xiao Hua was stunned and asked curiously, Why did Jiang Luer go to Cherishing Flower Peaks Herb Garden? How would I know? Wouldn't it be better to ask? Zhang Qingxiao's figure flickered and gradually disappeared. It was the devil world's concealing technique. Xiao Hua didn't dare to be negligent and also used the concealing technique. But before he could disappear, Zhang Qingxiao's figure reappeared and said in astonishment, Xiao Huiyu, how can you use my devil world's cultivation technique? Chapter 27:15. Wasn't this concealing technique given to Xiao Hua by Zhang Qingxiao? Xiao Hua took a lot of things from Zhang Qingxiao and really forgot about it. Don't talk about Xiao Hua. Even Zhang Qingxiao herself didn't care about this technique when she gave it to Xiao Hua. She even said that Xiao Hua couldn't cultivate it. Yes, this is what second senior brother gave me. Xiao Hua says with a smile. Since second senior brother can cultivate it, why can't I? Nonsense. I am a devil, a person from the devil world. Although I also cultivate Taoist techniques, but I also cultivate devil world techniques. You are not a person from my devil world. How can you cultivate devil world techniques? Could it be that you cultivated the blood drop paradise? Although Zhang Qingxiao didn't say it in detail, she made it clear that the devil world's tracking technique can only be cultivated by cultivators who know devil world techniques. I don't know. Xiao Hua shakes his head. I didn't carefully comprehend the blood drop paradise, let alone cultivate it. But this tracking technique, I can use it with just a little bit of cultivation. You really didn't comprehend the blood drop paradise? Zhang Qingxiao doesn't believe it. And I saw that the technique doesn't use heaven and earth spiritual energy to cultivate. It only cultivates devil fire and devil blood. So I didn't continue to look. Xiao Hua is a little unhappy. I haven't finished cultivating this Taoist technique. How can I have time to cultivate that? That's strange. Since he didn't cultivate the blood drop paradise, then you must have cultivated devil world techniques before. Zhang Qingxiao frowns, but then she is shocked and says anxiously, Could it be? You are a person from my devil world? Yes, it's true. When Master found you that day, although you weren't near the Imperial Demon Valley, you were not far from it. Moreover, it was not long before the great war of immortals and devils. You're definitely a person from the devil world. Speaking of this, Zhang Qingxiao's face becomes alert again. A person from the devil world? Xiao Hua's heart skipped a beat. He had also wondered about this before, but he couldn't find any basis for it, so he ignored it. Now that Zhang Qingxiao mentioned it again, he was naturally delighted. He finally had a breakthrough in his background. Is it true that only devil dwellers who have cultivated devil arts are able to use the concealing technique? Xiaohua asked. It might not necessarily be a devil cultivator. A devil cultivator might be able to do it too. Zhang Qingxiao hesitated and said, in short, those who have nothing to do with my devil sect will not be able to use it. In other words, you're most likely from the Imperial Demon Valley. Zhang Qingxiao's eyes narrowed, and she actually once again slightly pulled away from Xiaohua, as if she was very afraid of the truth that Xiaohua was a devil realm devil dweller. That's strange. Xiaohua giggled again. If this young master is someone from the devil realm, wouldn't he be acquainted with you? Why are you so afraid? Shouldn't you be happy? If you're from the devil realm, you must have a purpose for coming here. Now that you don't have your memories, it's natural for you to claim kinship with me. If you remember anything, don't you want to complete your mission? My heavenly devil sect and myself. Aren't we all being used by you? Zhang Qingxiao snorted coldly. It wasn't easy for me to open up a place in the Dawn Rain continent. Wouldn't I have to make a wedding dress for you? Xiaohua said strangely. Your words make this young master feel strange again. If this young master is a cultivator, you're at ease. But if this young master is a devil dweller, you're not at ease. You're actually so disappointed in your own kind? Zhang Qingxiao snorted coldly and didn't answer Xiaohua. Obviously, she was already on guard against Xiaohua. However, Zhang Qingxiao's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. No. Zhang Qingxiao shook her head fiercely. If you're from the devil realm, how can you be proficient in the Buddhist sect's cultivation method? How can you have Buddhist awareness? This is absolutely impossible. Then, am I a person of the devil realm or not? Xiaohua listened to Zhang Qingxiao's startled words and was even more at a loss as he asked curiously, whether you are or not, it has nothing to do with me. Zhang Qingxiao rolled her eyes at him and said, this is your own life experience. Why do you want me to worry about it for no reason? At most, you've practiced devil techniques. You're definitely not from the devil realm. After speaking, Zhang Qingxiao's figure flashed again. Don't. Xiaohua hurriedly prepared to pull Zhang Qingxiao and said anxiously, why don't you tell me why this young master isn't from the devil realm? Can you not ask so many questions? Zhang Qingxiao flicked her sleeve and a black brilliance flashed, blocking Xiaohua. Her figure disappeared, presumably going to Xihua Peak. Watching Zhang Qingxiao leave, Xiaohua sighed, alas, I originally thought I had a new clue, but now it seems it's also useless. However, since I'm not from the Dawn Rain continent, then I'm definitely an outsider of the Dawn Rain continent. And this different realm, other than the 10,000 demon realm, is the devil realm. And what second senior brother said isn't without reason. I really might have come from the devil world, and it was precisely through the Imperial Devil Valley that I came to the Dawn Rain continent. Xiaohua pondered as he used the same concealment technique to fly towards Xihua Peak. Unfortunately, Xiaohua had just condensed his gold core, and his realm had not yet stabilized. In the 10,000 demon realm and the devil realm, even those as strong as Xianwan and Dongshan, he couldn't enter and leave at will. How could he be qualified to go? His life experience. I'm afraid it'll take a long time to have some clues, right? When Xiaohua appeared in front of Xihua Peak, Zhang Qingxiao was already standing outside the medicine garden, looking at the medicine garden in a daze. Seeing this, Xiaohua released his Buddhist awareness and looked at the medicine garden. He couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Along the way, Xiaohua saw a lot of 100 Herb Gate disciples. All the disciples' cultivation was around the 5th level of qi refining. These disciples were in a hurry. Perhaps they were all busy with some affairs of the 100 Herb Gate. When they saw each other, they just cupped their hands and saluted, exchanging some pleasantries before flying away. At this time, inside the medicine garden, there were hundreds of children at the 2nd and 3rd level of qi refining. They should be taking care of the medicine garden, but they were also playing around while taking care of it. The whole medicine garden was bustling with noise and excitement, and even laughter could be heard from time to time. Xihua Peak has never been so lively, Zhang Qingxiao said in a low voice. She seemed to be talking to Xiaohua, but also seemed to be talking to herself. That day, even if Master was here with eldest senior brother, junior sister, and me, we wouldn't be so lively. Let bygones be bygones. It's useless to think too much. Xiao Hua also muttered in a low voice, and also seemed to be talking to himself. His figure flew towards a corner of the medicine garden. His heart was filled with emotion and disdain at the same time. When this young master was in the medicine garden, you all never came. Where did this liveliness come from? Xiao Hua's figure didn't stop. He flew to a corner of the medicine garden. This place was already some distance away from the medicine garden. Even the laughter of the medicine apprentices couldn't reach here. Moreover, this corner was blocked by a restrictive spell. Needless to say, this was the place where Jiang Luer fainted. When he flew in front of the restrictive spell, Xiao Hua was a little hesitant. He stretched out his hand and then withdrew it. After all, Yellow Flower Ridge was not the same as before. Just a moment ago, he was still squeezing Zhang Qingxiao. Now that he was here, he was the host. Humph! Hypocrite! Zhang Qingxiao also flew behind Xiao Hua. When she saw Xiao Hua's hesitation, she sneered and stretched out her hand. Just as she was about to tear the restrictive spell, the whole restrictive spell flashed with a faint brilliance. About 10 feet away from the two of them, some obscure fluctuations were generated. Along with the fluctuations, a square hole appeared. Xiao Xianrui, who looked a little haggard, walked out of the hole. As soon as Xiao Xianrui revealed her figure, she was just about to tidy up her appearance. Just as she raised her hand, she saw Xiao Hua and Zhang Qingxiao. Her face immediately showed joy, and she shouted, "Second senior brother, little junior brother, you came?" Zhang Qingxiao's eyes showed warmth, and the corner of her mouth slightly hung a smile. "How's the situation?" "It's still the same." The joy on Xiao Xianrui's face just flashed, and was immediately replaced by a worried look. "It's the same as what little sister said in the communication talisman that day." Xiao Xianrui seemed to want to say something, but Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand and said, "Don't say so much. Let Xiao Hua take a look first." "Let little junior brother take a look?" Xiao Xianrui was surprised. This cultivation method was given by Xiao Hua. "I just gave it to him," Zhang Qingxiao said lightly. "If you don't let him take a look, who should you look for? So it's like this." Xiao Xianrui suddenly understood and looked at Xiao Hua and said, "Please, little junior brother, senior sister." Xiao Hua said embarrassedly, "It's all my fault. What are you waiting for? Go and take a look." Zhang Qingxiao was a little impatient. Xiao Xianrui said with a smile, "Second senior brother, it's been several months and Luer hasn't changed. I don't think he's in any danger. Humph, isn't it all to find him?" Zhang Qingxiao snorted coldly. "Even if I come, I'm afraid it won't be of any help." "I know." Xiao Xianrui smiled reluctantly. "Thank you, second senior brother." "You're welcome." Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand casually, and Xiao Hua had already stepped into the restriction. There was nothing inside the restriction, and the green grass on the ground was no different from the outside of the herb garden. However, in the center of the restriction, there was a child of about 10 years old sitting cross-legged. The child sat cross-legged with his hands folded and placed naturally between his legs. His eyes were slightly closed, and his eyelashes were motionless. His small mouth was pursed, and his nostrils on both sides of his nose were moving very slowly. Because there was no sunlight on his pale face, it was abnormally pale. Luer, although the child's face was pale and very thin, he was abnormally serious and looked like a solemn statue. "Jiang Luer is so big now," Xiao Hua sighed. The last time he saw Jiang Lu, he was just a child in his arms. Now he was about 10 years old. Thinking about the battle in Sky Patrol City, it was nearly 10 years ago. Time flew like lightning. Chapter 27:16. Xiao Hua only used his eyes to take a look before releasing his Buddhist sense. This time he frowned. Within his Buddhist sense, Jiang Luer's figure was faintly glowing, and her entire figure was somewhat blurry. Why is that? Xiao Hua was a little confused. His Buddhist consciousness was similar to his spiritual sense. However, Because the range of his Buddhist consciousness was larger than his spiritual sense, it wasn't easy for the Tao sect's cultivators to detect it. As for whether his Buddhist consciousness had any other uses, Xiaohua really didn't know. How is it? Xiao Xianrui saw Xiaohua frown, and her heart unconsciously tightened. Senior sister, you and second senior brother go out first. I will take a look again, Xiaohua said warmly. Okay. Xiao Xianrui did not say anything else and turned around to leave. Zhang Qingxiao unhappily looked at Xiaohua, curled her lips, and could only follow Xiao Xianrui out. After the two of them left, Xiaohua took out the talismans of the capital star array and placed them around the entire restriction, waiting for the entire array to be completed. Xiaohua took out the Buddha, Saraira, Lin. The Buddha, Saraira, chanted the mantra, and the Buddha seal was also released. However, when the Golden Lin character landed on Jiang Luer's body, there was no reaction at all, and it fell down as if it was nothing. Army. Xiaohua did not hesitate and once again activated the Buddha Saraira, using the second Buddhist ability. Similarly, the Golden Army character did not exceed Xiaohua's expectations, and the soul summoning technique also did not succeed. Xiaohua sighed. Just as he was about to take back the Buddha Sarura, the body of the Buddha Sarura suddenly shone with a golden light. The arms that were just about to take it back began to move like water flowing through a canal. Another unfamiliar Buddha seal was formed. Oh! The Buddha Sarira also opened its mouth, its face full of compassion. A golden word in the shape of a fighting came out from the mouth of the Buddha Sarira. As soon as the word came out, it suddenly enlarged to a size of 3 meters, enveloping Jiang Luer like a fishing net. The golden character fell on Jiang Luer's body, and her entire body was covered in golden light. Like an overflowing golden body, Jiang Luer's whole body was suffused with a golden color. As the golden light blossomed, every stroke of the dough character broke apart, and each broken stroke transformed into a dough character, spiraling around Jiang Luer's body. Good. A smile appeared on Xiaohua's face. He had a hint of understanding in his heart. The third divine ability of Buddhism is battle. This battle is full of compassion. It is the memory of the previous life in compassion, not the so-called battle. Thinking of this, Xiaohua's heart was filled with bitterness. His Buddha Sarira had experienced 2 lightning tribulations and had finally reached the 3rd level of divine ability. However, this 3rd level of divine ability had nothing to do with fighting. Motherfucker, no wonder the Buddhist sect was destroyed by the Tao sect. Every divine ability was so crooked. Who would cultivate it? What's the use of it when we're fighting against the Tao sect? Xiaohua silently cursed. At this moment, Jiang Luer's brows moved slightly, as if she was about to wake up. However, just as she frowned, the golden light on Jiang Luer's body moved again. One by one, the golden light actually disappeared into Jiang Luer's body, no longer appearing. Jiang Luer's brows relaxed again, but her eyes did not open. Battle. Xiaohua's Buddha, Sarira, formed a seal again, and a golden gold character was spat out from the mouth of the Buddha Sarira, landing on Jiang Luer's body. However, this time, the golden words still flowed around Jiang Luer's body and also disappeared into her body. However, Jiang Luer's brows did not move, and her eyes did not show any signs of opening. Sigh. Xiaohua sighed and shook his head slightly. If he had the 4th divine ability of Buddhism, perhaps it would be of some use. But now, just the 3rd divine ability of Buddhism should not be able to awaken Jiang Luer. After keeping the Buddha Sarira, Xiaohua rubbed his chin with his hand. After thinking for a moment, he urged his soul thread to extend out from the Dharma eye between his brows. The soul thread had gone through the lightning tribulation, and the fluctuations within it were much stronger than before. It was like a baby growing up into a child, and there was a lot of strength in its arms. It did not take much effort at all. The soul thread entered Jiang Luer's soul from between her brows. Jiang Luer's soul was very similar to Xiaohua's soul. They were both mysterious dark clouds, but at this time, Zhang Luer's dark clouds were very quiet. Although there was some rolling inside, the rolling was very rhythmic. At first glance, it looked very harmonious, and even made Xiao Hua's soul thread feel very comfortable. If there is a mutation in the soul, I'm afraid it won't be like this. Xiao Hua only used his soul thread to take a look. He did not have much confidence in his heart, so he pulled out the soul thread again. Thousands of soul threads fluttered in the air. Although they could not be seen with the naked eye, a kind of faint sound was emitted from the dancing soul threads. Hearing the buzzing sound, Xiao Hua slightly furrowed his brows and thought to himself, the soul power that soul cultivators speak of is the strength of this soul thread. However, in essence, this soul thread doesn't have any strength. The so-called strength of this soul thread is the strength of the undulations. Now that this soul thread has gone through the lightning tribulation, it seems to have improved. It can even be said that it has mutated, and the fluctuations have become stronger. In other words, this young master's soul power has also improved. Back then, this young master had to spend a lot of effort to pull the little white dragon out of his soul. But after that, even though the little white dragon's soul had gone through the lightning tribulation and become more solid, the soul power of my soul thread has increased, and I can still drag the little white dragon back to the mysterious dark clouds. But what is the relationship between the soul power and the sound of the soul thread? Buzz, buzz. The soul thread's fluctuations became more and more resounding, and the sound also became sharper. Xiao Hua was afraid that Zhang Luer would feel uncomfortable, so he hurriedly retracted the soul thread. But just as he was retracting it in a panic, the soul thread suddenly emitted a strange and short syllable. Quick, it seemed to be a kind of incantation, but it also seemed to be a syllable, and it instantly entered Xiao Hua's ears. When Xiao Hua heard this sound, he couldn't help but be stunned. An almost inconceivable thought immediately and uncontrollably emerged in his mind. Damn it, this young master. Did I hear wrongly? Or maybe my thinking is right. Xiao Hua's eyes flashed with wild joy. I already know a lot of Green Seal script, but I don't know how to pronounce this Green Seal script. I tried for a long time before, but the Green Seal script just couldn't come out of my throat. I thought that I didn't know how to pronounce it, but now I understand. This Green Seal script is not something that I normally speak. It's coming from this soul thread. The more Xiao Hua thought about it, the more he thought about it. Or perhaps it's just like what second senior brother said. Unless it's a devil cultivator or a devil cultivator, it's impossible for ordinary people to use the devil realm's concealing technique. This Green Seal script must be the same. I need to use the soul thread to pronounce the Green Seal script, but a soul cultivator, perhaps he can pronounce the Green Seal script without using the soul thread? But how do I pronounce this soul thread? Thinking of this, Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows and smiled bitterly. Now is not the time to meditate or break through. Let's hurry and see how to wake Zhang Luer up. Xiao Hua kept the soul thread and opened his Dharma eye. This Dharma eye was also somewhat different from before the lightning tribulation. It seemed to be much blurrier than before, and he couldn't clearly see the color of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Of course, even so, Xiao Hua couldn't see anything from where Zhang Luer was sitting. Because Zhang Luer had never cultivated before, there was no vital energy or vital essence around her. So in Xiao Hua's Dharma eye, there was nothing. That's strange. Xiao Hua revealed all his secrets one by one, but he still couldn't find any clues. Thinking about how Zhang Luer was in such a state because she was comprehending the Heart Sutra of Prajnaparamita, and how the Buddhist mantra of fighting could enter Zhang Luer's body, Xiao Hua shook his head helplessly. I'm afraid this is a problem with the Buddhist sex technique. Don't tell me. I really have to see Kunlun's sex Hanju? Damn it, if I see Hanju, I'm afraid he'll force me to go to the Buddhist sex ruins. Xiao Hua couldn't help but think of the token Hanju gave him at the Feather Immortal Gathering, and the words he said. Hanju wanted to use the Buddhist sex technique to increase his cultivation, but Xiao Hua didn't want to. He didn't want to take the risk of going to the Buddhist sex ruins and he didn't want to have too much entanglement with Hanju, which would increase the possibility of his Buddhist sect's cultivation being exposed. Therefore, Xiaohua didn't think of informing Hanju at all. But now, looking at Jiang Luer's situation, he was afraid that only Hanju could wake Jiang Luer up. Alas, it's all karma. I'm already in the karma. How can I escape? If there's no other way, I can only face it. Xiaohua sighed slightly and put away the talisman of the capital star array. Although Zhang Qingxiao and Xiao Xianrui were outside the restrictive spell, Zhang Qingxiao's divine thought had never left the restrictive spell. When she saw Xiaohua's figure appear, she immediately scanned Jiang Lu. Alas, Zhang Qingxiao sighed slightly and turned to Xiao Xianrui, who was biting her lips slightly and didn't dare to look back, and said, Xiaohua can't wake Jiang Luer up. Although this result made Xiao Xianrui extremely disappointed, she still forced a smile on her face, turned and walked into the restrictive spell, and said, Thank you, junior brother. It's all my fault. Xiaohua hurriedly said, Although I can't wake Jiang Luer up, I've already thought about it. Maybe someone else has a way. Really? Who is it? Xiao Xianrui was overjoyed again. This. Xiaohua hesitated and shook his head and said, Who is this person? Forgive me for not telling you, but he's also a Buddha. At this point, Zhang Qingxiao, who was at the side, coughed hard. Xiaohua was slightly taken aback and looked at Zhang Qingxiao with some confusion. However, before Zhang Qingxiao could speak, Xiao Xianrui asked in confusion, Is this person's status very high in the Xiaoyu continent? Is he the head of some Buddhist sect? Chapter 27:17. Xiaohua immediately came to his senses and hurriedly covered it up. This senior's temper is rather strange. He doesn't like to extend his hand and meddle in other people's affairs. Previously, this little brother had the chance to meet him. If I were to ask him again, would he extend his hand to save Luer? Oh, is that so? Xiao Xianrui nodded slightly and turned to look at Jiang Luer with a trace of affection in her eyes. Xiaohua pondered for a moment before asking, Senior sister, tell me exactly how Jiang Luer ended up like this. Don't leave out a single word. Xiao Xianrui thought for a moment and told him everything that had happened. In fact, it was very similar to what Zhang Qingxiao said. Ever since 100 Herbs Gate underwent earth-shaking changes, Jiang Luer gradually grew up. After all, when Jiang Fan died, Jiang Luer was still very young. After asking about Jiang Fan a few times at the beginning, he gradually forgot about Jiang Fan and only grew up with Xiao Xianrui. When Jiang Luer was 4 or 5 years old, Xiao Xianrui began to teach Jiang Luer an extremely simple beginner's chant according to the customs of the Xiaoyu continent. However, what Xiao Xianrui didn't expect was that although Jiang Luer was extremely intelligent and could understand the first level of qi refining at a glance, and could explain it clearly and logically, when he really practiced it, this Jiang Luer, who had loved the aquamarine pearl since he was young and played with it every day, actually couldn't generate a single strand of true qi. Not even a trace of true qi could be produced. Xiao Xianrui was dumbfounded. She had seen a bit of this situation on Xiaohua's body, but at that time, it wasn't that Xiaohua couldn't produce true qi, but his growth was too slow. That trace of true qi was almost non-existent in Xiaohua's meridians. This Jiang Luer was different from Xiaohua. He could not produce even a trace of true qi. Xiao Xianrui was surprised and carefully observed the process of Jiang Luer's cultivation. The whole process was exactly the same as described in the manual, without any deviation. However, at the end of refining the heaven and earthling qi, Jiang Luer could not produce true qi. At first, Xiao Xianrui thought that it was a problem with Jiang Luer's physique. She put the water attribute manual aside and found a fire attribute manual for Jiang Luer to comprehend. Naturally, the result was still the same. What drove Xiao Xianrui even crazier was that the 100 Herbs sect didn't have any metal-type qi refining techniques for the time being. Neither the other wood-type techniques nor the most common earth-type techniques were suitable for Jiang Luer. Later, Xiao Xianrui spent a lot of effort, spirit stones and spirit herbs, and finally got a rough gold qi refining method from others. Even this last glimmer of hope did not allow Xiao Xianrui to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Jiang Luer still could not generate true qi. At this time, Xiao Xianrui had already thought of Zhang Qingxiao. However, in order to avoid arousing suspicion, Zhang Qingxiao did not directly appear in Yellow Flower Ridge. Moreover, he was also busy with the affairs of his heavenly demon sect and rarely communicated with Xiao Xianrui. Seeing that Yellow Flower Ridge was thriving, Xiao Xianrui wanted to try to solve it herself. However, year after year, Jiang Luer grew up and became more sensible. Xiao Xianrui racked her brains and thought of countless methods, but still could not let Jiang Luer really practice qi. What was rare was that Jiang Luer was also precocious. Since he was a little more sensible, he knew the importance of cultivation. Since he started practicing his first qi refining method, he devoted himself wholeheartedly to it. However, the reality was such a blow that Jiang Luer felt extremely uncomfortable in his heart. He felt that his future was hopeless, and even his whole life was gloomy. For several years, every attempt by Xiao Xianrui was a blow to Jiang Luer's confidence. However, every time, Jiang Luer gritted his teeth and faced it. Although Xiao Xianrui never scolded him, in his heart, he was extremely depressed. Later, when Jiang Luer saw that his mother was so busy with him that she didn't even have time to meditate, Jiang Luer very cleverly advised his mother not to spend any more effort on him. Perhaps he himself had a physique that could not cultivate. He had already accepted his fate. Being able to accompany his mother by her side was his greatest happiness. Jiang Luer, being so sensible, made Xiao Xianrui even more sad. She didn't expect that God would play such a big joke on her. Therefore, when Xiao Xianrui shed tears, she had to use the method left by Zhang Qingxiao to send him a messaging charm. Naturally, after more than half a year, Xiao Xianrui got the golden puppet of the Prajnaparamita Heart Sutra that Xiao Hua gave to Jiang Luer. Of course, this golden puppet had been cracked by Zhang Qingxiao using the devil sex method. Along with the golden puppet, there was also a jade slip, which was the Prajnaparamita Heart Sutra that Zhang Qingxiao had relayed. Similarly, Jiang Luer didn't have divine thoughts, so he couldn't read the jade slip. Xiao Xianrui had to record the Prajnaparamita Heart Sutra in the jade slip and give it to Jiang Luer to comprehend. Xiao Xianrui didn't know about the Buddhism sect, and she didn't know much about the Prajnaparamita Heart Sutra. She herself couldn't understand it at all. However, she heard from Zhang Qingxiao's jade slip that this Heart Sutra was only for Jiang Luer to read, and she didn't explain a word. Of course, Xiao Xianrui didn't suspect anything else. She only thought that it was a secret cultivation technique of the Xiaoyu continent. Even Xiao Xianrui didn't know that this Heart Sutra was given to her by Xiao Hua. Although Xiao Hua's strength was formidable, Xiao Xianrui knew that the rules of the Imperial Thunder sect were extremely strict. Although Jiang Luer couldn't practice the Dao sect's cultivation technique, he had read a lot of books since he was young, so he didn't have to worry about literacy. Moreover, he had comprehended the 5 elements qi refining cultivation technique. Although the contents of this Heart Sutra were somewhat obscure, he gradually gained some insights after studying it day and night. Jiang Luer had a hobby similar to Xiao Hua, which was to like flowers and plants. Because there were many spiritual herbs and spiritual trees in the Xihua Peaks herb garden, and there were even many medicine apprentices of the same age as him, Jiang Luer spent most of his time in the vicinity of the herb garden, either tending to the flowers and plants, or watching the medicine apprentices play, or even watching them cultivate with envy. Ever since he obtained the Heart Sutra, he worked even harder. Although he still came to the herb garden, he spent less time tending to the flowers and plants, and more time studying the Heart Sutra. It was completely different from his previous depression. Seeing the melancholy in her son's eyes gradually disappear and be replaced by eagerness, Xiao Xianrui was naturally happy. However, She couldn't understand the contents of the Heart Sutra, so she didn't know about Jiang Luer's progress. Just as she was about to ask about Jiang Luer's cultivation, she suddenly received a report from a disciple that Jiang Luer had suddenly fainted in the herb garden. Xiao Xinrui anxiously flew to the herb garden and saw that Jiang Luer was in such a situation. Although she didn't comprehend the Heart Sutra, she had seen this posture when she was copying it, so she knew that Jiang Luer should be comprehending the Heart Sutra. Therefore, she immediately set up a formation around Jiang Luer to prevent him from being disturbed. Generally speaking, secluded meditation could only be achieved when one's cultivation reached a certain level, especially the Tao sect's disciples below the third level of qi refining. Most of them were children under the age of 10. They were usually jumping up and down. So how could they have the mental state to meditate? That was simply impossible. Although Xiao Xinrui didn't mention that Jiang Luer couldn't cultivate the Tao sect's magic, all the children in the herb garden knew about it. Therefore, when they saw Jiang Luer's situation, they naturally didn't think that he was meditating, so they naturally attributed it to fainting. At the very beginning, Xiao Xinrui wasn't worried. She had also meditated before, so it was very normal. However, as time passed, Xiao Xinrui couldn't remain calm. Because Jiang Luer didn't practice anidia, how could he meditate? How could his body withstand not eating or drinking for several days? Moreover, Jiang Luer meditated for dozens of days, so how could this mother be at ease? Seeing that Jiang Luer was getting thinner day by day, Xiao Xinrui almost went crazy. She didn't dare to feed Jiang Luer any anidia pills or other elixirs, for fear that it would hurt Jiang Luer's meditation and take his life. However, she also didn't want to see Jiang Luer starve to death. Fortunately, although Jiang Luer was thin, his breath was normal, far from being on the verge of death, which made Xiao Xinrui somewhat relieved. Now, she didn't care about the affairs of the 100 Herbs Gate, nor did she care about her own cultivation. Every day, she had to stay by Jiang Luer's side, and she also had the elixirs of the 100 Herbs Gate on her. Whenever she found anything unusual, she would immediately feed the elixir to Jiang Luer. However, as time passed day by day, Jiang Luer only became thinner, and his breath was getting weaker and weaker. There was indeed no change in the situation until today, when Xiao Hua and Zhang Qingxiao came together. Xiao Xinrui said this with a choked voice. She didn't complain about Xiao Hua, but she was worried about Jiang Luer. During this time, a few more message talismans were sent, but Xiao Xinrui didn't look at them at all. She just reached out and broke them, completely ignoring them. The more Xiao Xinrui acted like this, the more guilty Xiao Hua felt. He only thought that he could learn without a teacher and even create his own foundation establishment cultivation method at the critical moment. But he didn't expect that this extremely dangerous cultivation method was not suitable for everyone, even if Jiang Luer's aptitude was exceedingly high. At this time, he was also implicated by Xiao Hua's recklessness. Senior sister, after Xiao Xinrui finished speaking, Xiao Hua said apologetically, "This is indeed my fault. Don't worry, I will do my best to wake Jiang Luer up." "Junior brother," Xiao Xinrui said with a forced smile, "it's not your fault." That day, when Luer got the Heart Sutra, he was very happy. I was also happy that he could use this Heart Sutra to comprehend magic. At that time, I was really grateful to you and Qingxiao from the bottom of my heart. As for Luer's current situation, it's mostly my fault. I should have read this Heart Sutra more, comprehended it myself, and then taught it to Luer. Alas, Xiao Hua sighed. He understood in his heart how Xiao Xinrui could comprehend the Heart Sutra of Prajnaparamita. But at the same time, his heart moved, and he stretched out his hand. "Senior sister, that cultivation method and second senior brother's jade slip for me to see." Chapter 27:18. Yes, Xiao Xinrui hurriedly took these out from her storage bag and gave them to Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua took them and looked at Zhang Qingxiao. Zhang Qingxiao's expression did not change. Xiao Hua had already read the Heart Sutra of Prajnaparamita before, but that was just a summary and was not detailed. This time, for the sake of Jiang Luer, Xiao Hua did not dare to be negligent. He released his Buddhist awareness and saw the Heart Sutra flashing with golden light, like golden pages flipping. Seeing this, Zhang Qingxiao's eyes flashed with a strange expression. As for Xiao Xinrui, she did not care about these changes. She looked at Xiao Hua and then at Jiang Luer. Her heart was completely focused on her son. After Xiao Hua finished reading the Heart Sutra, he looked at Zhang Qingxiao's jade slip again and frowned slightly. How is it? Although I don't understand it, I wrote it right. Zhang Qingxiao said coldly. Yes, it's right. Xiao Hua nodded. This Heart Sutra of Prajnaparamita was not the same as the exquisite Leaf Sutra. It was not a wordless heavenly book, and the golden rune was ordinary. With Zhang Qingxiao's ability, there was no mistake in writing it. Senior sister, where's the thing you copied? Xiao Hua asked Xiao Xinrui. Xiao Xinrui pointed at Jiang Luer and said, it should be in Luer's arms. Yes. Xiao Hua nodded and walked over. He stretched out his hand to take the thing from Jiang Luer's arms. Junior brother, Xiao Xinrui said anxiously. Won't this disturb if it won't? Xiao Hua knew that Xiao Xinrui was worried and said with a smile, Luer should be in a special state of cultivation. Although I don't know, I have never experienced it before, but I will be fine if I take the thing from him. Okay. Xiao Xinrui stared at Xiao Hua's hand, as if he was holding Jiang Luer's life in his hand. Oh, okay. Xiao Hua thought for a moment and put his hand in front of Jiang Luer. He did not go deep into Jiang Luer's arms. Instead, he used his mind to take out the silk-like technique and send it into the space and then into his hand. Seeing that Xiao Hua did not touch Jiang Luer, but the silk appeared out of nowhere, Xiao Xinrui's heart was relieved. However, Zhang Qingxiao was stunned. With his eyesight, he actually couldn't see how Xiao Hua took out the silk from Jiang Luer's bosom. Xiao Hua didn't care about the gazes of the two people. After receiving the silk, he immediately unfolded it for a closer look. However, when he finished reading Xiao Xinrui's beautiful handwriting on the silk, he frowned even more. Xiao Xinrui's heart clenched again, and she whispered, Little junior brother, is there anything wrong with my transcription? I've carefully transcribed it word by word. Senior sister, there's not a single mistake in your transcription. If there is a mistake, this little brother will be able to find some clues. Xiao Hua smiled and said, It is precisely because there is no mistake that this little brother is puzzled. Oh, Xiao Xinrui let out a long sigh, but her face was a little ugly. Junior brother, in this situation, Xiao Xinrui asked tentatively, You really can't wake Luer up? Can that senior awaken it? Senior sister, Xiao Hua smiled and said, In fact, this situation, should be the meditation when we practice. However, Luer's situation is very special. He has just started practicing this cultivation method. No matter what, it is impossible for him to meditate so quickly. Yes, Xiao Xinrui said anxiously. I also think so, but Luer can't wake up from his meditation, which makes you anxious. Xiao Hua didn't wait for Xiao Xinrui to finish her words and said, If Luer didn't make you so surprised and even told you that he wanted to meditate first, you wouldn't be worried, right? But Luer didn't abstain from eating. If he doesn't eat, how can he live? Xiao Xinrui argued. If Luer didn't look so haggard, I wouldn't be so worried. Although Xiao Xinrui said so, Xiao Hua didn't believe it. He looked at Zhang Qingxiao and said, Second senior brother, according to my plan, I'm going to take Luer out. What do you think? Zhang Qingxiao nodded. He knew in his heart that Xiao Hua was going to look for an expert from the Buddhist sect. This person must be extremely secretive and would definitely not let the cultivators of the Taoist sect know about it. And this person would definitely not come to Yellow Flower Ridge openly. Other than Xiao Hua bringing Jiang Luer along, there was no other way. Okay, I'll pack up now. Xiao Xinrui said hurriedly with a hint of joy in her eyes. Senior sister. Xiao Hua was stunned and hurriedly stopped her. What are you going to do? If you leave, what will happen to the 100 Herbs sect? Xiao Xianrui said flatly. The 100 Herbs sect can't compare to Jiang Lu'er. If Lu'er is like this, the 100 Herbs sect might as well be disbanded. If it's the 100 Herbs sect, you can go by yourself. Zhang Qingxiao sneered. But this is Yellow Flower Ridge. It's Shang Huoming. If you go, won't you be letting down your dead master? This. Xiao Xianrui's face showed hesitation, and she bit her lips. Now that Xiao Xianrui had taken the rejuvenation pill, she looked like she was in her 20s. Her hesitation was heartbreaking. But I can't bear to leave Lu. If I don't see him wake up, my heart won't be at peace. Xiao Xinrui begged. How about we ask second senior brother to stay in Yellow Flower Ridge for a while? Stay in Yellow Flower Ridge? Zhang Qingxiao looked at Xiao Hua coldly and snorted. There will be people here who won't agree. Senior sister. Xiao Hua didn't care about Zhang Qingxiao's sarcasm, but advised, I think you also know that the spiritual herbs in the herb garden can never be compared to the spiritual herbs in the Barren Mountain. The difference is not just a little bit. It is the same for our cultivation. If we keep cultivating in the sect, no matter how hard we work, we may not be able to improve our realm quickly. When the time comes, we must go out and experience it. This experience is not only to broaden one's knowledge, but also to sharpen one's character and will. If Lu'er stays in front of you all the time, I think he may not be able to achieve anything. At this time, you should let him go out for a walk. Sometimes, being willing to let go is the true love. But Lu'er is not going out for experience right now. Xiao Xianrui argued. He's just, Lu'er's path is Lu'er's. It's not something you or I can choose for him. To enter such a state of meditation is also his opportunity. Xiao Hua didn't wait for Xiao Xianrui to finish and interrupted again. Maybe his path is like this. It is already opened under his feet. Junior brother is right. Zhang Qingxiao rarely agreed with Xiao Hua's point of view. Only letting go is the true love. Junior sister, when I heard what you said just now, I already feel. Although you said something when Lu'er couldn't cultivate, you didn't scold him. But your anxiety, everything you do, is giving him pressure. This kind of motherly love is an extremely heavy burden. In fact, you can imagine that if he wasn't a little anxious for success, he might not be like this. Tisk, senior sister, don't listen to him. This has nothing to do with you. Xiao Hua saw that Xiao Xianrui's face was a little pale and hurriedly persuaded. This is purely the problem of this strange cultivation method. Leave this to me. I will definitely wake Lu'er up. It's the same whether you're by his side or not. Besides, if you go with me and Lu'er, it's useless at all. Why do you have to be by his side? If you go, that senior won't see outsiders. Then what should you do? Sai, don't say any more. Xiao Xianrui's face was pale and said with difficulty, Qingxiao is right. This Yellow Flower Ridge is not only mine, it's also left behind by father and senior brother. I left all these things and only cared about Lu'er. I let down father and senior brother, and I let you all down. Moreover, I gave Lu'er a lot of pressure. It was I who unconsciously pressed on Lu'er. Even if Lu'er wakes up now, I will definitely not let him stay by my side. After saying that, she looked at the herb garden outside the restriction and sighed. This Xiaoyu continent is so big. It's the place for Lu'er to show his ambition. How can it be 100 times stronger than this Yellow Flower Ridge? Think about that day at Yellow Flower Ridge. What was the cultivation of second senior brother and junior brother? After leaving Yellow Flower Ridge, what is the cultivation of the two of you now? I'm really a little short-sighted. After saying that, Xiao Xinrui bowed to Xiao Hua and said, Junior brother, I'll leave Lu'er to you, whether he's dead or alive. You only need to send me a message. Senior sister, Xiao Hua hurriedly helped Xiao Xinrui up, who knew that after bowing, Xiao Xinrui stood up, turned around, and walked out of the restriction. Her eyes were full of tears, but there was a flash of determination in them. Xiao Hua didn't expect Xiao Xianrui to do what she said. She was more decisive than a group of men and couldn't help but be stunned. Junior sister, wait a moment, Zhang Qingxiao also said anxiously. Second senior brother, do you have anything else to say? Xiao Xinrui stood there and didn't look back, as if she was afraid that if she looked back, her heart would soften. Alas, why do you have to do this? Zhang Qingxiao said, as long as you wake Lu'er up, everything will be easy to talk about. Xiao Xinrui's eyes were still looking at the herb garden, afraid that they would fall on Jiang Lu'er. She said with a somewhat blocked nose, second senior brother, thank you for reminding me. A loving mother leads to a useless son. This principle is known by everyone in the secular world. How can I not know? But when I think about the child, I can't help but love him. If this goes on, how can Lu'er make any progress? His current difficulties are all caused by me. In the future, when Lu'er is by your side, you can beat or scold him as you wish. Alas, Xiao Hua sighed and wanted to say something, but when the words reached his mouth, he didn't know how to comfort her. However, Zhang Qingxiao looked at Xiao Xinrui's back and then looked at Jiang Lu'er. He flew to Jiang Lu'er's side, stretched out his hand, and touched Jiang Lu'er's arm. A drop of essence blood flowed out from Jiang Lu'er's arm. Zhang Qingxiao reached out and grabbed the drop of blood essence. Immediately after, Zhang Qingxiao formed a series of hand seals and continuously struck the drop of blood essence. As the hand seals entered the drop of blood essence constantly flashed with a blood-red brilliance. Chapter 27:19. Oh, Xiao Hua didn't understand Zhang Qingxiao's actions, but seeing these somewhat familiar spells, he felt strange. Isn't this similar to the spells used to refine the natal spiritual tablet? Sure enough, after waiting for a moment, Zhang Qingxiao clapped her hand and took out a pure white jade. She pointed at the red light that had turned into a ball of light and shouted, "Quick!" The red light immediately fell on the jade, along with Zhang Qingxiao's spell. With a kacha sound, the pure white jade immediately glowed red. When the red light was annihilated, a pink natal spiritual tablet appeared in the air. Junior sister, this is Lu'er's natal spiritual tablet. Take it. Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand, and the natal spiritual tablet fell in front of Xiao Xinrui, saying, if anything happens to Lu'er, this spiritual tablet will break. If it doesn't break, Lu'er will be fine. You can also be at ease. Xiao Xinrui's eyes showed a trace of gratitude. She took the spiritual tablet and looked at Zhang Qingxiao, saying, thank you for your care, second senior brother. After saying that, she carefully hid the spiritual tablet next to her body. Oh, right, just now, Xiao Hua and I killed a disciple of the 100 Herb sect in front of Yellow Flower Ridge. Chao Ming will definitely report the matter clearly, Zhang Qingxiao said again. In addition, this Chao Ming is worth training. You should pay more attention to him in the future. Yes, I understand. Xiao Xinrui nodded and stepped out of the restriction. From beginning to end, her eyes never looked back, never fell on Jiang Lu'er's body. However, just as she walked out of the restriction, tears flowed out again. Xiao Xinrui was a foundation establishment cultivator, but she was also a mother. How could she not be worried when her flesh and blood, who had been with her for nearly 10 years, suddenly left and had a difficult future? Although Xiao Hua promised that he would wake Jiang Lu'er up, Xiao Xinrui also believed that Xiao Hua would do his best. However, she always had a premonition in her heart that Jiang Lu'er would never be awakened so easily. In fact, this separation could very well be the final farewell between her and her own flesh and blood. Perhaps he would never see Jiang Lu'er again. Xiao Xinrui flew out of the herb garden, then flew out of Shihua Peak. However, after flying for several hundred feet, she suddenly turned around and rushed towards the restriction formation of the herb garden. However, when she landed within the restriction once again, it was already empty. Jiang Lu'er, Xiao Hua, and Zhang Qingxiao had already disappeared. Looking at the empty restriction, it was as empty as the emptiness in her heart. Xiao Xinrui couldn't help but cry. Her graceful figure collapsed on the ground. Where was the bearing of a foundation establishment cultivator? She really regretted it. Why couldn't she take another look at her son? Even if his son was in a meditative state, he was still by his side. Now his son was no longer by his side. What was the use of having a divine connection cultivation base? Xiao Xinrui touched the spirit tablet she had hidden under her clothes. She had mixed feelings. She clenched her fists tightly, as if she was clutching her own son, as if she had found someone to rely on. Are we really leaving like this? Xiao Hua held Jiang Luer in his hand, and his figure appeared in the air outside Yellow Flower Ridge. He said to Zhang Qingxiao, who was also slowly showing her figure, "Senior sister will definitely regret it later. Don't you want her to see Luer again?" We're just leaving for a few days. Why do we have to be separated by life and death? Is it interesting? Zhang Qingxiao snorted and waved his hand. The black jade aeroboat landed in the air again. He said, "Let's go. Where are you going? I'll send you there." At most, Luer will return to Yellow Flower Ridge in a few months. Xiao Hua didn't stand on ceremony. He flew onto the flying boat and placed Jiang Luer properly on it. He pointed to the east and said, "Let's go to Lian country." Lian country? Zhang Qingxiao was stunned. Why? Not in Shi country? Yes. Xiao Hua didn't explain and only agreed. Zhang Qingxiao activated the flying boat, but after flying for a while, he was in a dilemma again. If we go to Ming Kingdom or Shi Kingdom, it's easy. My heavenly demonic sex teleportation array can also be used. But unfortunately, it's Shi country. My heavenly devil sex teleportation formation isn't built well. If we don't use the teleportation formation of the sect and just rely on the flying boat, I'm afraid it'll take a lot of time. Luer, can't eat. It's really troublesome. Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows. As if he thought of something, he asked, "What does your heavenly devil sect have that can hold living people?" "What do you mean?" Zhang Qingxiao didn't understand. "For example, a spirit storage bag." Xiao Hua reached out and took out a spirit storage bag from his chest. During the Tao Sword War, I once put the disciples of the Imperial Thunder sect into this spirit storage bag. Spirit storage bag? Zhang Qingxiao was shocked. Although this spirit storage bag can hold spirit beasts, the space inside is very strange. The formation is also unstable. Even the spiritual qi is limited, especially Luer. He can't breathe and still needs to breathe. Putting him in this spirit storage bag, can he live for long? Let's not talk about this first. Do you think it's possible or not? Xiao Hua asked. If it's possible, you and I will use the teleportation formation and put Luer in this spirit storage bag for the time being. Zhang Qingxiao thought for a moment and nodded. It should be possible, but it can't be for too long. Otherwise, it'll be easy for Luer to suffocate to death. That's good. Xiao Hua nodded. If it's really a critical moment, we'll have to act at our own discretion. Okay. Zhang Qingxiao, who had always made people feel that she was omnipotent, sighed and agreed helplessly. After flying for another half a day, Xiao Hua suddenly pointed in the direction of the Imperial Thunder sect and said in a negotiating tone, "Second senior brother, now that we're not too far away from the Imperial Thunder sect, why don't you send me to the Sky Thunder Peak?" "What? You miss your Imperial Thunder sect?" Zhang Qingxiao said coldly. "What about Jiang Luer? Didn't you make a solemn vow earlier? Now you've changed your mind? Luer's situation can't be solved in a short time. And I have to find someone to help. Moreover, looking at Luer's situation, there's not much change. Going to the Imperial Thunder sect is just a matter of convenience. You don't have to bully me like this," Xiao Hua said coldly. "Anyway, you promised in front of junior sister, not me." Zhang Qingxiao slightly turned the bow and flew in the direction of the Imperial Thunder sect. From Yellow Flower Ridge to the Sky Thunder Peak, it naturally took more than a few days. During this period, Zhang Qingxiao steered the boat, and Xiao Hua carefully comprehended the Heart Sutra of Prajnaparamita. At the same time, they also paid attention to Jiang Luer's situation. There were no obvious changes, so they were slightly relieved. Seeing that they were about to arrive at the Sky Thunder Peak, Zhang Qingxiao stopped the flying boat in midair and said coldly, "Your new sect is about to arrive. You don't need me to personally send you to the mountain gate, right?" "Of course not," Xiao Hua said with a smile. "However, it's not convenient for me to use my messaging charm in the Imperial Thunder sect. Second senior brother, can I ask Di Hongshan of the Thunder Palace's myriad Thunder Valley to come out?" "Hee. You also know that you're a member of the Sword Battle. You can't casually return to the Imperial Thunder sect without permission. I thought you didn't know this." Zhang Qingxiao sneered. "Your messaging charm is not useful, but I can freely enter and leave the Sky Thunder Peak. Do you think that Qian Lazy is a decoration? Do you think that Fairy Xian Hua and the other palace masters are all in seclusion?" Xiao Hua didn't get angry and said with a smile, "Second senior brother, you're the sect master of the Heavenly Demon sect. Don't tell me that you don't have any spies in the Imperial Thunder sect. Don't tell me that you don't have a secret technique to inform the disciples of the Heavenly Demon sect in the Imperial Thunder sect." "You." Zhang Qingxiao was angry. "You're not the deputy sect master of my Heavenly Demon sect. Why should my disciples listen to you?" I just said a few words to Cui Hongshan. "Second senior brother, you don't need to be so calculative, right?" Xiao Hua said with a smile. Okay. Zhang Qingxiao didn't feel like talking to Xiao Hua anymore. She took a step into the air, and her figure slowly disappeared. After a long while, Zhang Qingxiao returned and threw a jade slip. "Go to this place and wait for your junior brother Cui." Many thanks, second senior brother," Xiao Hua said, and took the jade slip. His figure also slowly disappeared. "Damn it, this guy is not the deputy sect master of my Heavenly Demon sect. He's even better than the deputy sect master of my Heavenly Demon sect." Zhang Qingxiao looked at the place where Xiao Hua disappeared and scolded. "Not only did he use my Heavenly Demon sect's disciples as his own disciples, he's even more familiar with the Devil World concealment technique than I, the sect master of the Heavenly Demon sect. If you say you're not a devil cultivator, I won't believe it." Xiao Hua flew for about a dozen miles, and his figure landed on the foothills of a mountain. He took out the jade slip and looked at it carefully. He looked at it for a long time, and only when he could confirm it did he close his eyes and sit down cross-legged. After an hour, two hesitant figures flew over from the distant horizon. They were Cui Hongshan and Dui Qiming. Xiao Hua naturally saw them. He frowned, and a trace of doubt flashed through his eyes. "Dui Qiming, why is she here? This Heavenly Demon sect's disciple is really unreliable." Xiao Hua didn't let the other people from the Myriad Thunder Valley come out to see him, because he was afraid that they would leak some information. Cui Hongshan's mind was 10 times more lively than the rigid Xiangyang. If he called him out, he should be able to keep it a secret. However, if Dui Qiming of the Lightning Conversion Palace was added, wouldn't his plan fail? However, Xiao Hua pondered for a moment, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a smile again. He thought to himself, since she's here, then, as her senior brother, I have to show my gratitude again. Cui Hongshan and Dui Qiming's divine senses swept over and saw that it was actually Xiao Hua. Their doubtful faces couldn't help but be filled with ecstasy. They looked at each other and used the lightning escape technique to fly towards Xiao Hua. "Second senior brother, why is it really you?" Cui Hongshan shouted from afar. The joy in his voice was definitely from the bottom of his heart. Dui Qiming, who was beside him, didn't shout, but her face was flushed red. She actually looked shy. "You're here." Xiao Hua stood up with a smile and waved his hand, indicating for them to descend. He asked, "What took you so long?" Chapter 2720. Greetings, Senior Martial Brother. Dui Qiming landed and bowed. Without waiting for Cui Hongshan to speak, she said, "Hongshan was meditating in his residence when he received a strange message talisman. It only said that the person closest to us was waiting here and wanted him to come alone. However, it didn't say who it was. It also said that this matter couldn't be told to Master's wife, Senior Martial Brother, and Senior Martial Brother. Otherwise, it would be harmful to the person waiting here. It even said that it would be harmful to our myriad Thunder Valley. We thought for a long time, but couldn't guess who it was. Originally, we didn't want to come, but we were afraid of delaying something. Little brother almost wanted to take this message talisman to Thunderclap Palace. Chui Hong Shun said with a smile. The tone inside was really too big. It said that if little brother leaked the news, dozens of lives of our myriad Thunder Valley would be taken as compensation. AI. Xiaohua sighed. Needless to say, wasn't this Zhang Qingxiao's way of doing things? However, this concubine suddenly thought of a possibility, Dui Qiming said with a smile. Who else but second senior marshal brother could have such a powerful ability and such a mysterious way of doing things? Since it's second senior marshal brother won't be angry that this concubine accompanied my husband here, right? And Qimeng was afraid that little brother would lose something, so I still accompanied him here. Please forgive me, second senior marshal brother, Chui Hongshun said hurriedly. Xiaohua smiled and waved his hand, saying it's fine. This Xiao didn't expect that the two of you had already held the dual cultivation ceremony. This is this Zhao's fault. At this point, Xiaohua suddenly thought of something and asked curiously, all right, you said that dozens of lives of our myriad Thunder Valley would be taken as compensation. Does our myriad Thunder Valley have many disciples now? Ha, really? Chui Hongshun said with a smile. Our Thunderclap sect has lost many disciples in the Great Tao Cultivator War for nearly 10 years. Lord Sect Master is widely accepting disciples. Little Brother and Senior Marshal Brother have each accepted 4 or 5 disciples. In total, there are close to 20 people. Good, Xiaohua nodded. If our myriad Thunder Valley can recruit suitable disciples, then we can gradually develop in the future. Myriad Thunder Valley's position in Thunderclap Palace will also slowly rise. Don't worry, Senior Brother. Dui Qiming smiled. Now that eldest Senior Brother and Brother Chui are both working in the Thunderclap Palace, they're gradually rising to important positions. The Myriad Thunder Valley is already famous because of eldest Senior Brother's achievements in the Sky Patrol City. There are countless disciples who want to join the Myriad Thunder Valley. That's right. Every year, when Dui Lei Palace and Gen Lei Palace select disciples, eldest Senior Brother and I are always at the top of the list. Many blood-related disciples of other Thunder Palaces have also informed me in advance. Chui Hongshun said in high spirits. In my opinion, we should recruit a dozen or so disciples every year. My 10,000 Thunder Valley will grow stronger in just a few years. Dui Qimeng covered her mouth and laughed. It's all this concubine's fault. Senior Marshal Brother had yet to return to the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Now, there were only eldest Marshal Brother and Shui Lang in the valley. If they recruited too many people, they might not be able to handle it. Moreover, there are no rules for recruiting disciples nowadays. I don't know which disciple's physique is suitable. It's better to have nothing than to have something substandard. Xiaohua listened with interest. He looked at Chui Hongshun and then at Dui Qimeng. He felt that the two of them complemented each other and were very knowledgeable about the development of the 10,000 Thunder Valley. I'll leave the development of the 10,000 Thunder Valley to the two of you, Xiaohua said with a smile. I've never liked these trivial matters, and eldest Senior Marshal Brother is also very dull. It's already good that he can do some things in deafening Thunder Palace. Master. Oh, how are Master and Master's wife? Although Chui Hongshun and Dui Qimeng didn't say much, they were all about the development of the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Xiaohua was concerned about the situation of these few people and only mentioned Xiangyang. Master had already planned to go into seclusion when we went out to battle. However, he waited until when you and I were trapped in the great formation of Mount Quanjin. Only then did he decide to go into seclusion. When helplessness was mentioned, a hint of worry appeared on Chui Hongshun's face. It's already been several years, but he still hasn't come out of seclusion. What seclusion? Is he trying to break through to the Gold Core realm? Xiaohua was shocked and asked anxiously. Yes, Master is trying to break through to the Gold Core realm. Dui Qimeng also said helplessly. What happened to us was a huge blow to Master. He felt that our 10,000 Thunder Valley was being bullied because we didn't have a gold core realm cultivator. It's already been several years. Xiaohua was already a gold core realm cultivator now and knew the dangers and difficulties of condensing a gold core. He himself had successfully condensed a gold core with the help of the sword tomb. If it was someone else, condensing a gold core out of thin air in the Dantian was really a kind of comprehension from nothing. It definitely wasn't as simple as condensing true qi into true essence. Master's life tablet has always been safe and sound. Cui Hongshun said hurriedly. Master's wife goes to the Jade Archive Hall every month to check. And what about the others? Xiaohua sighed. He was helpless that he couldn't condense a gold core at the beginning of his seclusion. It had already been several years. Who knew when he would be able to condense a gold core again? Senior Marshal Brother and eldest Senior Marshal Brother have both reached the peak of the middle stage of Foundation Establishment and are about to cultivate to the late stage of Foundation Establishment. However, eldest Senior Marshal Brother is a bit busy, so he's lagging behind Senior Marshal Brother. Cui Hongshun thought for a moment and said, on the other hand, Li Er's progress is very fast. He's already at the 6th level of qi refining, right? He's grown up now and rarely returns to Myriad Thunder Valley. Sometimes, when he comes back, he stays in his cave and meditates. Little brother also rarely sees him. 6th level of qi refining. Dui Chiming curled her lips and said with a smile, I think I heard eldest Senior Marshal Brother say a few days ago that Li Er is already at the 7th level of qi refining. It's been a long time. For your husband, how can I clearly distinguish between the 5th, 6th, and 7th levels of qi refining? Cui Hongshun grinned. What about Master's wife? Xiaohua asked again. Master's wife is currently educating witching. Her cultivation hasn't undergone any significant changes. Dui Chiming giggled. Witching? Master accepted another disciple? Oh, that's not right. Is it Master's wife's new disciple? Xiaohua was slightly stunned, but he suddenly understood. It's not Master's wife's disciple, and it's also not Master's disciple. Ha ha ha. Cui Hongshun laughed loudly and said, take a guess. How could I? Xiaohua was just about to say that he didn't know, but when he saw Dui Chiming's originally calm face blush again, he suddenly realized something. He slapped his forehead and said, look at me. I forgot about this matter. Congratulations to Junior Marshal Brother Cui and Junior Marshal Sister Dui. And I also have to congratulate Master and Master's wife. Cui Hongshun looked at Dui Chiming with a smile. Dui Chiming lowered her head and said, this is all thanks to Senior Marshal Brother's help. This concubine is endlessly grateful to Senior Marshal Brother. Suddenly, Xiaohua understood why Dui Chiming kept calling him Senior Marshal Brother and not Second Senior Marshal Brother, like Cui Hongshun. Second Senior Marshal Brother, Cui Hongshun continued, our Myriad Thunder Valley has undergone great changes. You should return with little brother. Wuqing is now a dying child, and Ying can now barely walk. If you return, Master's wife and the others will definitely be very happy. Our Myriad Thunder Valley can be considered reunited. Seeing that Cui Hongshun valued the Myriad Thunder Valley so much, Xiaohua's heart also relaxed. It was not in vain that he had supported him. However, Xiaohua smiled and said, the Myriad Thunder Valley situation is really not bad. It's a pity that the Great Dao Cultivator War is not over yet. Brother can only return to Shi Country occasionally for official business and can't casually return to the Imperial Thunder Sect. Look at me. Cui Hongshun imitated Xiaohua and hit his forehead. Little brother was too happy to see Second Senior Marshal Brother and neglected this matter again. If Second Senior Marshal Brother could return, how could you still meet little brother here? That's right. Xiaohua smiled and nodded. The blush on Dui Chiming's face gradually faded. Looking at Xiaohua's unhurried appearance, she realized that he was far from the bearing he had when he left Sky Patrol City. However, she didn't dare to recklessly use a spell to probe Xiaohua's cultivation. Moreover, she also understood that even if she did, she would definitely not be able to find out Xiao Hua's true cultivation. After thinking for a while, Dui Qiming said softly, "Senior Marshal Brother, this concubine has been a Sun Lei Palace. Oh? How's Shue's situation?" Xiao Hua was very gratified by Dui Qiming's thoughtfulness and asked with a smile, "She's already cultivated to the middle stage of foundation establishment." "Hee, I'll let Senior Marshal Brother know." Dui Qiming chuckled. According to Junior Marshal Sister Sun Shu, Shue has been cultivating in seclusion. The last time she came out for a short rest, her cultivation has already reached the peak of the middle stage of foundation establishment. She's really catching up to eldest Senior Marshal Brother Xiangyang. Senior Marshal Brother has fallen behind Senior Marshal Sister Shue. Xiao Hua was very shocked. Why is she cultivating so hard? That's right. Shue's foundation establishment was even after Xiao Hua's. Moreover, she had only built her foundation for about 20 years. How could she possibly rush to the peak of the middle stage of foundation establishment in such a short time? To an ordinary cultivator, this was close to 80 to 90 years of bitter cultivation. No matter how good Shue's aptitude was, she couldn't possibly surpass Fairy Hongxia by that much, right? Fairy Hongxia's cultivation was only at the middle and late stage of foundation establishment. How could Shue catch up to Fairy Hongxia in such a short time? Look at what Senior Marshal Brother is saying, Dui Qiming said unhappily. Senior Marshal Sister Shue's foundation is extremely good, and she also has a famous teacher to guide her. Naturally, it's natural for her to cultivate to the peak of the middle stage of foundation establishment. Don't tell me that we can only let Senior Marshal Brother's cultivation increase, and the rest of us have to fall behind you? Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. How could this be compared? If cultivation was this fast, then what was the use of the so-called bitter cultivation? How could the so-called Dao Heart and Dao Foundation be complete and solid? Junior Marshal Sister, if there's a chance, let Senior Marshal Sister meet Shue. Xiao Hua thought for a while and said, when Shue entered the Imperial Thunder Sect, Senior Marshal Sister was already at the middle stage of foundation establishment. Now, she's still at the peak of the middle stage of foundation establishment. She hasn't broken through yet. Actually, sometimes breaking through too hastily might not be a good thing. Without a solid Dao foundation, it's impossible to walk too far on the great Dao. Yes, this concubine understands. Dui Qiming's heart trembled as she nodded. Chapter 27-21. By the way, second senior brother, why did you return to Shi? Cui Hongxian asked again. More than a month ago, more than 50,000 disciples of my Imperial Thunder Sect went to Sky Patrol City under the lead of Spiritual Master Mi Yu and Spiritual Master Quangtian. If there are no accidents, the remaining disciples of Sky Patrol City will return before the new year. Second senior brother now. Spiritual Master Mi Yu? Xiao Hua was stunned. Sect leader didn't go? Sect leader is in seclusion, trying to break through to the late nascent soul stage. Cui Hongxian's eyes flashed with a trace of fanaticism. When sect leader comes out, my Imperial Thunder Sect will also have a late nascent soul stage sect leader, and we will be on par with Shanghua Sect and other sects. Oh, I see. Xiao Hua nodded slightly. He naturally thought of the thunder-devouring bead that he occasionally thought of before. However, he immediately asked again, by the way, who is that spiritual master Quangtian? Which teacher has advanced to the nascent soul stage? This person, others may not know, but how can senior brother not know? Cui Hongxian naturally thought of his ignorance when he first reached the foundation establishment stage and smiled bitterly. It's an old friend of senior brother from Qianlei Palace. Qianlei Palace? Oh, I understand. Xiao Hua smiled. Quangtian, Gantian, aren't they both Tian? Even if Gantian's sect has reached the nascent soul stage, they still use Tian as their Taoist name. How arrogant! But then, Xiao Hua asked curiously, if spiritual master Quangtian went to Sky Patrol City, then what about Qian Dihan? Haha, what do you think? Senior brother. Do I? Qiming smiled, as if she was well aware of this matter. Yes, Senior Quan Tian went to Sky Patrol City, so naturally he brought Qian Diheng with him. With him there, how could anything happen to Qian Diheng? I'm afraid that any military exploits would fall like leaves, so there's no need for a tea house. Xiao Hua said in a low voice. Tea house? Cui Hongshan looked at Dui Qiming and was somewhat puzzled. Dui Qiming naturally knew that Xiao Hua wouldn't talk nonsense, but she didn't ask much, and the shock in her eyes didn't even appear. Xiao Hua was just about to ask another question when he suddenly raised his head slightly and looked to the side. He paused for a moment before he smiled bitterly and said, All right, let's not talk about anything else. A fellow Taoist is urging me to return earlier. There are other fellow Taoists? Cui Hongshan and Dui Qiming were even more baffled. When they first came, they were already very careful and looked around. Other than Xiao Hua, there was no one else. How could there be anyone else? Of course, the two of them instantly understood that the cultivation of these so-called fellow cultivators was definitely not something they could compare to. Xiao Hua didn't care about the astonishment on the two's faces. He stretched out his hand and pulled out several storage bags from his bosom, handing them to Cui Hongshan. Junior brother Cui, these are the spoils of war from this battle and the rewards for your contributions. Take them and give them to Master's wife when the time is right. Second senior brother. Cui Hongshan looked at these storage bags, but didn't reach out his hand. Instead, he shook his head and said, These are senior brother's things, not my myriad Thunder Valleys. Senior brother can take them yourself. Moreover, because of senior brother's battle achievements, the sect and Thunder Palace have already rewarded you quite a bit. I'm afraid it's not appropriate to take senior brother's personal belongings now. I told you to take them, so take them. Xiao Hua tossed his hand to Cui Hongshan and said, When did you learn to be like eldest senior brother? I'm all alone and don't need so many things. You take them and use them to develop my myriad Thunder Valley. Yes, junior brother understands. Cui Hongshan helplessly took them and was about to hand them to the Dui Qiming, but Xiao Hua stretched out his hand and said, Take these for yourself. Senior brother has something else for Qiming. Oh. Cui Hongshan and Dui Qiming both stared blankly. However, Cui Hongshan was very obedient and put away these storage bags. Xiao Hua took out 2 more storage bags from his bosom and handed them to Dui Qiming. He transmitted a few words. Dui Qiming stared blankly at first, and a slight awkwardness appeared on her face. However, she immediately bit her lips, and her eyes flashed with brilliance. She nodded slightly and took the storage bags. She bowed toward Xiao Hua and transmitted a few more words. Okay, there's some good things inside. Senior brother won't take them out one by one. You'll have to trouble yourself. Give them to Wu Qing and Cui Yingying. Take it as a greeting gift from me, your martial uncle. That Wu Qing can't be called martial uncle. He can only be called senior brother. Xiao Hua suddenly realized. Yes, this concubine understands. This concubine will definitely take care of this matter. Dui Qiming's tone became even more humble. Okay, let's not talk about anything else. After the battle, senior brother will come back to see you. Xiao Hua thought for a moment and didn't have anything else to say. He cupped his hands and flew into the distance. Farewell, senior brother. Cui Hongshan and Dui Qiming bowed respectfully. When the two stood up again and looked up, Xiao Hua's figure was nowhere to be seen in the air. The two naturally didn't use their divine senses to search. Cui Hongshan smiled bitterly and said, Wife, this second senior brother is becoming more and more mysterious. Our hibernating lightning escape has already made some progress, but compared to second senior brother, it's still far behind. Haha, it's not just that. Dui Qiming laughed and said, Back when we were in Sky Patrol City, we couldn't compare to senior brother. Our foundation, establishment, cultivation base, and everything we have now was given to us by senior brother. Do you think you can compare to senior brother? Husband indeed can't compare to senior brother, but I can compare to others. Cui Hongshan said proudly and slowly flew up with Dui Qiming. And, since husband has such ambition, this concubine will definitely help you. Dui Qiming's mood was obviously very good. She even glanced in the direction Xiao Hua flew and whispered, "It's a pity that senior brother's cultivation is so high, but he clearly isn't the kind of person who can make decisions. If he has the heart, AI. Yes, second senior brother's cultivation is really mysterious," Chui Hongshan said with a smile. "It seems like second senior brother really knows about Li Er's tricks. Perhaps it was second senior brother who taught him. Now, we can go and report to senior brother." Yes. Senior brother has always found it strange that Li Er's cultivation hasn't improved for nearly 10 years. He thought that he had encountered some insurmountable obstacle. He was always fretting at the side and didn't dare to ask directly. He insisted that we ask. Li Er is a person who has his own opinions. How could he possibly tell us? Dui Chiming also said with a smile. Moreover, husband said Li Er's progress is amazing. He's already at 6th level of Qi refinement, right? Senior brother didn't have any doubts and directly nodded. Is there any need to say more? He must know that his realm and cultivation don't match. He must have taught Li Er this kind of secret technique. No matter how well I said it, it's not as good as what you said. I seem to have heard from senior brother a few days ago that Li Er is already at the 7th level of Qi refinement. It's as if senior brother really asked you. Chui Hongshan said happily. I remember that Li Er was already at the 7th level of Qi refinement before the war. Since you pointed it out so clearly, how could second senior brother not understand? AI. Yes, senior brother really has too many divine abilities. His cultivation, to tell you the truth, even now, I can't figure it out. Dui Chimeng then teased Chui Hongshan. Back then, you still put on airs in front of senior brother and thought that you were amazing just because you built your foundation. Looking at it now, you were just a joke in senior brother's eyes back then. So what if I'm a joke? He's your husband's senior brother. Even if it's a bit embarrassing as your junior brother, I'm not afraid of losing face. Chui Hongshan said with a smile. Good. Dui Chiming praised. Since husband thinks this way, senior brother's planning for you wasn't in vain. Xiaohua had indeed done a lot for Chui Hongshan, so Xiaohua was worthy of Dui Chiming's praise. Chui Hongshan didn't hear any other meaning. Oh, wait a moment. Husband wants to see what good things second senior brother brought back from Myriad Thunder Valley. Chui Hongshan said, and took out a storage bag from his chest. Dui Chiming didn't mind and said with a smile, when you and I returned to the Imperial Thunder Sect that day, senior brother already gave us a lot of things. Even senior brother was stunned. Now, there's no need to talk about it. While Dui Chiming was speaking, Chui Hongshan had already opened one of the storage bags. He couldn't help but exclaim after scanning it with his divine perception. What? Dui Chiming was stunned. Senior brother, what's back? You take a look for yourself. Chui Hongshan handed the storage bag to Dui Chiming and took out a few more. Dui Chiming took them curiously and scanned them with her divine perception. Her eyes flashed with the same surprise as she whispered, Why are there so many? Not only that. Chui Hongshan's expression was strange as he handed the other storage bags to Dui Chiming. There's more in these few. Heavens, did senior brother go to fight? Dui Chiming slapped her forehead and said in confusion, We went to Sky Patrol City and almost lost our lives in the hands of sword cultivators. Although we received a reward in the end. How can it compare to senior brother's things? How did he get so many spirit herbs, flying swords, jade slips, and Dharma artifacts? Everything else aside, these spirit herbs and Dharma artifacts are suitable for use. Chui Hongshan smiled happily and said, My Myriad Thunder Valley doesn't produce spirit herbs and has very few Dharma artifacts. Our disciples lack these. With second senior brother's Dharma artifacts, I'm afraid it won't be a problem to collect another 100 or 80. Senior brother didn't go to fight with sword cultivators. Dui Chiming nodded and handed the storage bag to Chui Hongshan. Senior brother went to collect the storage bags of sword cultivators. That's right. Senior brother is so stingy. Chui Hongshan laughed happily and was about to put the storage bag away when he suddenly thought of something and turned to ask Dui Chiming. That's right. Second senior brother. Where's the storage bag he gave you? What's inside? Why are you being so secretive and not even letting your husband know? Hee hee. This is a little secret between senior brother and I. Dui Chiming smiled so widely that her eyebrows curved. She couldn't help but take out the storage bag and wave it in front of Chui Hongshan. TSK. If you don't want to say, then don't say. How could Chui Hongshan be angry with Xiaohua? He carefully put away the storage bags while Dui Chiming curiously opened the storage bag. Even though she had already seen the other storage bags, she couldn't help but have an extremely strange expression in her eyes. It was as if there was something amazing inside. Wife. Seeing Dui Chiming's expression, Chui Hongshan became even more curious and was about to sweep his divine perception over. However, at that moment, a sharp golden core divine perception swept over from the west. Quickly put it away, Chui Hongshan hurriedly urged. Dui Chiming was also startled. Fearing that extreme joy would turn into sorrow, she hurriedly put the storage bag away. Then, the two didn't dare to fly forward and waited respectfully in midair. In less than half a cup of tea's time, a white-haired golden core old woman flew over from the west like lightning. It was the famous awakening thunder escape of the Imperial Thunder Sect. When Chui Hongshan saw this old woman, he couldn't help but frown. The respect on his face became even more intense. When the old woman came close, he hurriedly bowed and said, Junior Chui Hongshan greets Hall Master Zhen. Oh, why is this guy here? Dui Chiming was also shocked. She knew that this person was the Hall Master of the Thunderous Thunder Palace's Thunderous Thunder Hall, Zhenming Wan. Her husband, Chui Hongshan, held a position in the Thunderous Thunder Hall. He was responsible for assigning odd jobs and collecting medicinal pills and spirit stones. These matters involved the supply of spirit stones to various places in the Thunderous Thunder Palace. It was an important position in the Thunderous Thunder Palace. Generally speaking, it was the responsibility of the Thunderous Thunder Palace's direct disciples. However, because Chui Hongshan had led the Thunderous Thunder Sect's first team this time, he was assigned this position. Chapter 27-22. Although Chui Hongshan was very happy when he talked about his important position in front of Xiaohua, the hardships he faced were only known to himself and only revealed when he occasionally talked about it in front of Dui Chiming. Therefore, Dui Chiming knew that Chui Hongshan was having a hard time in Shual Lei Hall. In fact, it was simple. Shual Lei Hall's various interests had already formed a pattern. Wouldn't myriad Thunder Valley's interference disrupt the internal situation? Who knew how many people were eyeing Chui Hongshan's current position? Many of the Bright Thunder Hall's disciples were dissatisfied with Chui Hongshan, whether in the dark or in the open, and some even attacked him. As the Hall Master of Shual Lei Hall, the Zhenming Wan didn't have any special actions against Chui Hongshan, but Chui Hongshan had long sensed her dissatisfaction with him. Chui Hongshan wanted to curry favor with the Zhenming Wan, but after being rebuffed a few times, he gave up. Now that he saw the Zhenming Wan appear, how could he not complain in his heart? Dui Chiming naturally saw Chui Hongshan's frown. Oh, what are you waiting here for? The Zhenming Wan didn't intend to stop, but Chui Hongshan was already waiting for her. Thinking about Chui Hongshan's battle achievements, the Zhenming Wan looked at him impatiently and asked, Yes, Hall Master, this subordinate just finished the task you ordered and brought Chiming to walk around. Chui Hongshan said respectfully, Not bad. The Zhenming Wan nodded slightly and said, However, this old one has discussed with the Vice Hall Master about the distribution of spirit stones. We still need to adjust it again. Wait until this old one has thought it through before I tell you. After saying that, the Zhenming Wan got up and was about to fly away. Chui Hongshan felt bitter. He had racked his brains for the distribution of spirit stones and finally completed it according to the Zhenming Wan's wishes. Now he had to do it all over again. Truly, but what could he say? He bowed and said, Farewell, Hall Master. Dui Chiming suddenly smiled and said, Hall Master Zhen, this junior heard that Zhen Ling just accepted a disciple with both lightning and fire attributes. Congratulations, senior. Well, he's just a disciple. There's no need to congratulate him. Zhenling was the youngest female disciple of the Zhenming Yuan. She was also the disciple that the Zhenming Yuan liked the most. For the Zhenming Yuan, it was naturally a joyous occasion for the Zhenming Yuan. However, how could the Zhenming Yuan reveal its joy in front of Dui Qiming? The vibrating bird only paused for a moment before it was about to fly away. "Please wait a moment, Hall Master Zhen," Dui Qiming said anxiously. Cui Hongshan, who was standing at the side, was somewhat puzzled. He truly didn't understand why Dui Qiming was so talkative today. He couldn't help but shoot a glance at Dui Qiming, afraid that she would say something she shouldn't. "What is it?" The vibrating cry Luan didn't stop and didn't give Dui Qiming a chance at all. She said coldly, "This old one still has important matters to attend to in the hall. If you have any urgent matters, you can report them to the Thunder Flash Hall." "Hall Master." Dui Qiming hastily reached into her bosom and took out an item. She respectfully handed it over with a smile. When Hong Shun heard that senior sister Jinling had obtained a fine disciple, he had already told this junior to prepare a meeting gift for that child. However, because my myriad Lightning Valley didn't have anything good, and Hongshan was busy with the Thunder Flash Hall's affairs, he couldn't be distracted. This is a flying sword that belonged to a sword cultivator from the Hung country. This junior just obtained it. Hongshan said yesterday that he wanted to give it to senior, but as she spoke, Dui Qiming elbowed Cui Hongshan. Although Cui Hongshan didn't understand, he was still able to explain himself. He immediately said, "This junior was so confused by the distribution of spirit stones that I forgot about it long ago. If not for Qiming's reminder, this junior wouldn't have thought of it." As he spoke, Cui Hongshan scanned the flying sword with his spiritual sense and smiled. Although this flying sword isn't of the highest quality, it still belongs to a drawing swordsman. The sword spirit inside hasn't been erased, so it's an excellent gift for senior sister Zhenling's disciple. The best part is this flying sword contains lightning. If Hall Master refines it a little, it will be an excellent treasure, Dui Qiming added. The Thunder Flash sect wasn't an expert in refining weapons, and flying swords were the specialty of the Hung country's sword cultivators. Even the Changbai sect couldn't compare. Many cultivators from the 3 cultivation countries yearned to obtain a flying sword from the Hung country in this great battle. Of course, most of the flying swords that fell into the hands of the Dao sect cultivators were from the nurturing swordsmen. Only a few of them were from the drawing swordsman. As for the flying sword in Dui Qiming's hand, it was from the drawing swordsman. Cui Hongshan and Dui Qiming couldn't tell, but the vibrating cry Luan did. Her eyes couldn't help but flash with astonishment. What moved her even more was what Dui Qiming had said. This flying sword contained the power of thunder and lightning. With a little refinement, it could become a high-grade magic weapon. Not to mention a disciple who had just joined the sect. Even if it was given to Zhenling or herself, it would be suitable. Of course, the vibrating cry Luan wasn't as foolish as Xiang Yang to think that this flying sword was for Zhenling's disciple. Thus, the vibrating cry Luan smiled and said, "You're all very considerate. That child is only at the 4th layer of qi refining. How can he control this flying sword? Any random magic tool would do. Why would he need such a precious item?" "Haha, Hall Master, you're right." Dui Qiming smiled. Although this child has just started qi refining, under senior sister Zhenling's guidance, he will soon reach foundation establishment. What use is this flying sword? Moreover, he has been trying to control flying swords since he was young. When he reaches foundation establishment, he will be able to strengthen his connection with the flying sword. This child's future cultivation will definitely not be inferior to senior sister Zhenling's. "Haha, I'll be counting on your auspicious words." The vibrating cry Luan beamed. Dui Qiming's words seemed to have hit the bottom of her heart. However, she still shook her head and said, "This old one will talk to Zhenling about this matter. This old one appreciates your kind intentions. However, this item is truly precious. Myriad Thunder Valley also has disciples, so it's better to give it to them." When Dui Qiming heard this, he knew that there was hope. He took a step forward and bowed. Honorable Hall Master, although this junior doesn't have many opportunities to meet Hall Master, I've long heard Hongshin speak of Senior's noble character and unquestionable integrity. I truly admire Senior. This junior's actions today are indeed somewhat abrupt, but this is indeed a little bit of this junior's feelings, a little bit of this junior's admiration for Senior. If Senior doesn't accept it, how can this junior see Senior in the future? So it's like this, seeing that Dui Chiming had already handed the flying sword over to her. The vibrating Krylwan frowned and said, "Since you're so considerate, if this old one doesn't accept it, it would truly be unreasonable. This old one can only reluctantly accept it." Yes. Senior, please understand this junior's painstaking efforts. Dui Chiming was overjoyed and respectfully handed over the flying sword. The vibrating Krylwan took the flying sword and shook its hand slightly. A brilliant light flashed on the flying sword, and the sparkling purple lightning threads were faintly discernible within the flying sword. Good, the vibrating Krylwan couldn't help but praise. It looked up at Dui Chiming and said, "This old one thanks you on behalf of Junling. No need to thank us. Dui Chiming and Shui Hongshan hurriedly said, "This old one still has important matters to attend to in the hall. I won't be staying here for long." The vibrating Krylwan withdrew its smile and looked at Shui Hongshan. "Shui Hongshan, the spirit stone allocation plan you made earlier still needs to be carefully considered. If you're free tomorrow afternoon, come to the Thunder Hall and discuss it with us." Yes, this junior understands. This junior will definitely be there on time tomorrow afternoon. Shui Hongshan hurriedly bowed and said, "Do your job well." The vibrating Krylwan said faintly, "You're the captain of the thunder-controlling sect's first team in this Dao Cultivator War. Your leadership ability is obvious to all. Your future in the Thunder Hall is also limitless. I wouldn't dare. Everything is thanks to Lord Hall Master's guidance." Shui Hongshan said with a smile. The vibrating Krylwan nodded slightly. It used the thunder escape technique again and quickly disappeared. After the vibrating Krylwan's figure disappeared, Shui Hongshan transmitted his voice to Dui Chiming. "Wife, where did you get this flying sword from?" Do you still need to ask?" "Of course, Senior Brother just gave it to me," Dui Chiming said proudly. "But," Shui Hongshan was somewhat puzzled. "How could you give it to Dui Chiming smiled and said, "Senior Brother didn't want me to tell you this too early. However, he didn't expect that just as he turned around, the thing he predicted would happen. Then I won't hide it from you." "Husband, let's walk together and talk." "Second Senior Brother, you mean?" Shui Hongshan suddenly understood. "That's right. Senior Brother knows that you come from a cultivation aristocratic family. You have expertise in the ways of the world, and even in communicating with the Thunder Palace," Dui Chiming said with a smile. "My myriad Thunder Valley has always been weak. We don't have any spirit stones, magic tools, or pills to communicate with others. Senior Brother specially left me a storage pouch. The things inside are for you and me." Dui Chiming pulled Shui Hongshan's hand and explained as they flew. The sunset cast their shadows on the ground, elongating them, and the gratitude in Shui Hongshan's heart was 100 times longer than this shadow. Speaking of which, when Xiao Hua left Sky Thunder Peak, some of the worries in his heart lessened. After all, knowing that everyone in Myriad Thunder Valley was safe and sound was better than anything else. Although helplessness had been in seclusion for many years and hadn't come out, Xiao Hua understood that helplessness also had the inner core of a male lightning beast in his body. Furthermore, helplessness had always been stable. If he wasn't 90% sure, he definitely wouldn't have gone into seclusion. It was only a matter of time before helplessness came out and condensed his inner core. However, some of the old worries were gone, and new worries surged in his heart. The first one to bear the brunt was naturally Shui Shui. Xiao Hua really didn't understand why Shui Shui was so rash. As a disciple of Sun Ming in Sun Lei Palace, and also had a lightning beast armor body, she only needed to cultivate step by step. What late-stage foundation establishment? What golden core? Although he didn't dare to be 100% sure of reaching nascent soul, he still had a 50% chance. If she really cultivated like Shue Shue, she would definitely be able to catch up to his cultivation pace, but her future progress would definitely be limited. This kind of attitude didn't feel like it was Shue Shue's nature. And with such wild thoughts, how could he notice Xiang Zhili's cultivation? He also didn't know that Xiang Zhili's matter had already been placed on his head. Chapter 27-23. While his imagination was running wild, Xiaohua suddenly thought of Fairy Hong Xia. He came to a realization and then smiled bitterly. Needless to say, with Shue Shue's competitive character, she must feel that her cultivation was inferior to Fairy Hong Xia and would not look good in front of Xiaohua. That's why she wanted to catch up. When she saw Fairy Hong Xia, she would not lose to Fairy Hong Xia in terms of cultivation. Women, whether it's a secular woman, a female cultivator, or a female swordsman, I'm afraid they all have a competitive heart. Xiaohua thought to himself as he took out a cyan spirit pill and casually popped it into his mouth. After this battle, I have to find an opportunity to let Shue Shue and Fairy Hong Xia meet. The two of them have already heard of each other for a long time, but they have never mentioned anything about meeting each other. They must have some grudges in their hearts. I can take this opportunity to eliminate them. Hee, this young master's happy life should be beckoning. Xiaohua. Zhang Qingxiao's voice sounded from the side. Oh, what's the matter? Xiaohua sat on the flying boat. Most of the time, he was meditating with his eyes closed. Zhang Qingxiao did not pay attention to him. He did not know why she suddenly woke him up. You don't seem to be meditating. Zhang Qingxiao frowned and asked. Who said? Xiaohua raised his eyebrows and tilted his neck. I'm comprehending the wonders of this soul execution light. Impossible, Zhang Qingxiao said impolitely. Look at your wretched smile. How can you be comprehending the secret technique? Why is it impossible? Haven't you heard that the wonders of the secret technique make people scratch their ears and cheeks happily? Xiaohua's face was not red. He even stretched out his hand and scratched his ears a few times. Don't think that people are fools. Zhang Qingxiao sneered and asked again. Haven't you already condensed your core? Why are you still taking cyan spirit pill? According to the practice of the Tao sect, you should take clearly pill now. Xiaohua understood that this clearly pill was an ordinary pill used by early gold core stage cultivators. He should indeed take this pill. However, Xiaohua glanced at Zhang Qingxiao and said, I'm happy, so what? I still have some cyan spirit pills in my storage bag. It's a waste not to use them. I thought you returned to the Imperial Thunder sect to ask your junior martial brother to give you clearly pill and other medicinal pills used by early Jindan stage cultivators. In the end, it wasn't. Now that you have just condensed your golden core, you should take some clearly pills to stabilize your golden core realm and stabilize your newly condensed golden core. Don't be stingy. Once your Jindan collapses, it will be too late for regrets. Although Zhang Qingxiao was concerned, her words didn't sound concerned at all. She even seemed to be gloating. Is this young master poor enough? Xiaohua naturally wouldn't whisper his situation to Zhang Qingxiao and said snappily, Not only did I not take the clearly pill, I also don't have the Jindan cultivation method to cultivate. How is that possible? Didn't I give you some golden core cultivation methods? Zhang Qingxiao said in disbelief. Those aren't enough. Xiaohua stretched out his hand and said, You have to give me all the gold core stage 5 elements cultivation methods. Damn it, you're a disciple of the Imperial Thunder sect, not a disciple of my heavenly demon sect. Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand angrily. Go back and ask your master for it. After saying that, she looked at Jiang Luer and said, Let's not talk about other things. We're about to reach the transmission array. What about Luer? Just bring him along. There's nothing shameful about it. Xiaohua said curiously. At worst, let him wear camouflage clothes. Damn it, you're the one who let Jiang Luer get into the spirit storage bag, and now you're also the one who let him wear camouflage clothes. Zhang Qingxiao said angrily. Do you have any idea? Hee. At first I thought it was inconvenient to bring Lure along, but after thinking about it, who would care about an unconscious child? Xiao Hua said with a smile. Let's just bring him along. Do you have a brain? Zhang Qingxiao scolded. Look at Lure's posture. Is this a Taoist spell? Although the Buddhist sect has been destroyed by the Taoist sect, if someone really sees that it's a Buddhist sitting posture, aren't you asking for trouble? It's better to be safe than sorry. My goodness, this is really rare. Isn't the heavenly demon's sex sovereign always fearless? Now, we're thinking so much. Xiao Hua said with an exaggerated expression. Of course I'm not afraid, but this is Jiang Lure, Junior's sister's son. Zhang Qingxiao said coldly. It's your responsibility to make him like this, but it's also my fault. I can't let Jiang Lure suffer any harm. Besides, there's the pressure of teleportation in the teleportation array. Not to mention that Jiang Lure is still a child who hasn't cultivated yet. He's in such a situation now. Can he bear it? Second senior brother, you're so thoughtful. Xiao Hua scratched his head and laughed. I'll put Lure into the spirit storage bag now. Give it to me. Zhang Qingxiao said coldly. There's no need for you to take the spirit storage bag. I'll take it myself. Don't. Xiao Hua hurriedly waved his hand and said, This matter happened because of me, so I'll naturally be responsible for taking care of Lure. Can you guarantee that Lure will be fine? Zhang Qingxiao was a little doubtful. To be honest, he had never thought of putting someone into the spirit storage bag. It was simply a fantastic idea. I guarantee that he'll be fine. Xiao Hua patted his chest and said, That day a few disciples of my Imperial Thunder sect. I put them in there for a few days. All right, you must be careful. Zhang Qingxiao knew that Xiao Hua wouldn't speak without thinking. He wouldn't casually take Jiang Lure's life as a joke, but he still warned him as usual. Looking at Zhang Qingxiao's concern, there was no trace of the heavenly demon sect leader's coldness that didn't care about human life. Immediately, Xiao Hua took out the spirit storage bag and put his arm around Jiang Lure's thin shoulders. He smiled and said, Good nephew, come in. Seeing Jiang Lure's figure disappear, and Xiao Hua even waved the spirit storage bag in front of him a few times, Zhang Qingxiao sneered and said, Jiang Lure is your nephew, not your nephew. Not my nephew? Xiao Hua scratched his head and said, What's the difference between a nephew and a nephew? Go back and ask your eldest senior brother. Zhang Qingxiao patted the flying boat, and the flying boat rushed into the air and quickly flew into the distance. Xiao Hua glanced at Zhang Qingxiao, and his mind entered the space. Naturally, he wouldn't put Jiang Lure into the spirit storage bag. The spirit storage bag was just a cover. Xiao Hua wrapped Jiang Lure's body with his mind and easily put him into the space. After the thunder tribulation and the core condensation, the range of Xiao Hua's divine thought and Buddhist awareness had greatly increased. The range of the space had naturally expanded a lot. According to Xiao Hua's rough estimate, it should be more than 1,000 miles. However, Xiao Hua didn't have full confidence in this number. After all, he had a vague idea of this number and direction. Xiao Hua was afraid that Jiang Lure would wake up at any time, so he naturally didn't dare to place him near the spiritual herbs, nor did he dare to place him near the spiritual insects. He only sent him to a remote place far away. The space was big enough that for a child who had never cultivated before, it was almost impossible to touch. Even if Jiang Lure woke up, he definitely wouldn't discover anything. In the space, Jiang Lure still looked the same. He was very calm, and his breathing was normal. Xiao Hua's mind looked at him for a moment and didn't find anything strange. Only then did he withdraw. However, what Xiao Hua didn't notice was that Jiang Lure's eyes, which hadn't moved at all before, were actually moving slightly in this space. After flying for a while, the flying boat landed at the edge of a small town. Zhang Qingxiao didn't say anything and flew down from the flying boat. With a shake of her hand, she put on a camouflage robe. Xiao Hua naturally did the same as Zhang Qingxiao. Seeing Zhang Qingxiao keep the flying boat, he followed behind him and flew towards the teleportation array. In the next 10 days, they just shuttled back and forth between teleportation arrays. Every time they came out from the teleportation array, Zhang Qingxiao would definitely ask Xiaohua to take Jiang Luer out of the spirit storage bag and put him on the flying boat. No matter if the flying boat flew for half a day or a few days, he had to see with his own eyes that Jiang Luer was fine. Sai, second senior brother, just let Jiang Luer stay in the spirit storage bag. He won't get in the way. In the end, Xiaohua was a little annoyed. I guarantee that he'll be fine. Humph. Zhang Qingxiao snorted coldly. Unless I'm not by your side, don't think of putting Jiang Luer in the bag like a spirit beast. All right. Xiaohua was helpless. Just as he was about to sit down and rest, Zhang Qingxiao frowned, and the flying boat stopped in midair. Then Zhang Qingxiao stood there quietly, her body emitting a faint black qi. That black qi was like a thin layer of silk covering a layer, and that black qi was flowing slightly. It didn't change into strange runes. The rune shape was somewhat like a talisman, but also somewhat like a green seal script. Occasionally, there were even pictures of demonic beasts mixed in. Half a meal's worth of cultivation. The black qi suddenly stopped and was absorbed into Zhang Qingxiao's body. Wait here for a moment. Zhang Qingxiao only said one sentence before her figure disappeared into the void. So mysterious. What is she up to? Xiaohua muttered a few times and closed his eyes again. That spirit-punishing vital light was indeed a little troublesome to use, and it wasn't as easy as Xiaohua had thought. If he didn't follow the spirit-punishing vital light's cultivation method and just used the yin-yang sword gourd's cultivation method, then there would be 2 flying swords. It couldn't be said that the power of these 2 flying swords wasn't enough, but compared to the true spirit-punishing vital light's cultivation method, the power of these 2 flying swords was really lacking by a lot. Moreover, Xiaohua himself already had 2 flying swords. Naturally, there was no need for 2 more flying swords, right? Spirit-punishing vital light. As long as there is a living creature with spiritual intelligence, it can be killed. Damn it, this town is really not small, huh? Xiaohua was comprehending while sighing with emotion. Just as he was thinking, the primordial spirit in Xiaohua's space suddenly sensed something. Chapter 27-24. When Xiaohua's mind entered the space, he immediately understood that the sword-controlling technique of the primordial spirit, which hadn't improved for a long time, finally had a major breakthrough after the primordial spirit went through the lightning tribulation. Good. Xiaohua was overjoyed. However, while he was pleasantly surprised, Xiaohua was also slightly stunned. Because now this primordial spirit, well, perhaps it could no longer be called a pure primordial spirit. Originally, the primordial spirit was just a small strand, faintly discernible, without any fixed shape, and could only be perceived by Xiaohua's mind. But now, the primordial spirit had already condensed, as if it was a kind of substance. Although this substance was still a small dot, in Xiaohua's mind, there was actually an illusory outline, and this outline faintly had the shape of a person. Of course, this shape was extremely faint, and the appearance couldn't be seen. Since this primordial spirit had such a change, Xiaohua naturally didn't dare to neglect it. He looked at the 2 primordial spirits in the sky Dao, starry sky, and the karma hand. These 2 primordial spirits didn't grow as fast as the one comprehending the technique, and their shapes were also different. Above the sky Dao, starry sky, the core looked like a star, faintly shining, and the faint, almost invisible shadow was also in the shape of a star flame. Inside the karma hand, there seemed to be a chain, and also seemed to be a ring, but it was too small to see clearly. Its shadow was also in the shape of a big hand, similarly faint and invisible. Strange. Could this be the power of the lightning tribulation? During the lightning tribulation, several primordial spirits were sent into the heart sword by Xiaohua. Xiaohua himself was focused on passing the lightning tribulation, so he didn't pay attention to the changes in these primordial spirits. Now that there was a change, it was naturally due to the lightning tribulation. The lightning tribulation is beneficial to little white dragon's soul. It also said that it was beneficial to the primordial spirits comprehending the soul cultivation technique in the mysterious dark clouds. So these primordial spirits should also be harmless. Xiao Hua thought, urging the primordial spirit. And while continuing to comprehend the technique, he actually began to cultivate the medicine field with those tireless puppets. Xiao Hua sensed that the primordial spirit's initial unfamiliarity gradually grew, and even had a familiar feeling that he was working in the field. Xiao Hua smiled. In this way, isn't it just another me working in the space? After I familiarize myself with the control of these invisible hands and feet, won't I be able to use the technique next? This is bad. Damn it, this primordial spirit of yours truly doesn't need to cultivate Tao techniques anymore, right? Xiao Hua suddenly thought of another problem. Who cares? Xiao Hua immediately laughed. Even if I want to cultivate, wouldn't I be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort in this space? Immediately after, Xiao Hua hurriedly withdrew his consciousness and followed the soul mark of the Dharma, eye into the mysterious dark clouds. When he saw the scene in the sky, he couldn't help but be dumbfounded, of course, in the current heaven ring of Qi, where was the little white dragon and the wisp of his primordial spirit. Motherfucker, did these two things disappear into thin air? Xiao Hua remembered that when he sent little white dragon and his own primordial spirit into the mysterious dark clouds, he didn't check carefully at all. Even Xiao Hua's own primordial spirit didn't enter the dark clouds. Impossible. Xiao Hua frowned as he looked around at the empty but bright sky. The other nascent divinities didn't have any problems with the lightning tribulations, and all of them underwent incredible transformations. How could this soul cultivator's nascent divinity be so special? Besides, little white dragon's soul is so amazing. Among nascent soul cultivators, when he thought of this, Xiao Hua's consciousness would definitely slap his forehead if he had hands. The brilliance in the heaven ring of Qi is dim, and even the moonlight has disappeared. Naturally, the first layer of the soul cultivation technique has been completed. These two things must have broken through the barrier between the heaven ring of Qi and the clear spirit sky, and entered the second layer of the 9 heavens of spirit origin. Ha ha ha. Thinking about how he had practiced soul cultivation for a long time, and how he had finally broken through with great difficulty, Xiao Hua almost laughed out loud. His consciousness looked up at the heaven ring of Qi, and sure enough, a faint green brilliance seeped out from the dark clouds. If this wasn't the brilliance of the moonlight, what else could it be? Xiao Hua's consciousness almost couldn't wait to rush to the top of the heaven ring of Qi. Previously, although Xiao Hua's consciousness could move freely within the heaven ring of Qi, its height was limited, and it couldn't exceed the height of the primordial spirit. But now, he easily arrived at the border between the heaven ring of Qi and the clear spirit sky. See this, isn't this soul silk? When Xiao Hua saw the dark clouds that were still rolling and surging, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. These seemingly endless dark clouds were completely formed by countless soul silk, and those soul silk were constantly trembling, emitting mysterious fluctuations. Whoosh, as if sensing the arrival of Xiao Hua's mind, a similar wave of energy swept out from the gap where some of the light had passed through. Immediately, the dark cloud formed by the soul strands was pushed aside, and a passage was formed from the soul strands. Through the gap in the passage, little white dragon's soul, which was almost inaudible, was still slowly dancing on the other side of the passage. It was just that the fluctuations emitted from this dance were so strong that even though Xiao Hua's consciousness was separated by the passage, he could still feel the vigorous energy within. Xiao Hua's consciousness slowly, and even somewhat cautiously, passed through the passage. On the 4 walls, countless soul silk were wantonly swaying. As they swayed, one by one, faint, strange shapes faintly appeared. As soon as these shapes appeared, they gave birth to a kind of fluctuation, and following this fluctuation, a strange sound was emitted. This sound was like the roar of the wind, like the roar of the waves, and even like the roar of some malicious spirits. Green seal text. When Xiaohua heard this sound, he immediately understood that his previous thought was not without foundation. Moreover, it was also very accurate. After a soul cultivator entered clear spirit heaven, his primordial spirit was already strong enough to be able to use soul silk to speak. Of course, how to chant the green seal text still required Xiaohua's attempt, and even the soul cultivator's further cultivation. As soon as he passed through the passage, a dim yellow scenery appeared in front of him. Countless dark clouds were rolling high up in the sky, like the changing scenery in the sky, revealing endless mysteries. Under this high altitude, little white dragon's soul was like a grass floating in water, slowly swaying. Not far from little white dragon, a ball of dark green, rather dazzling brilliance was changing like a water bubble. As the water bubble continued to change, all kinds of different fluctuations were emitted from the water bubble, overflowing the entire small area of clear spirit heaven. Outside this water bubble, there was a similar illusory figure, the same as the primordial spirit Xiaohua saw just now. It was a human figure, but he still couldn't see its features clearly. However, what was different from the primordial spirit of the past was that on this human figure, or perhaps through the bubbles of the human figure, there were countless soul strands that were connected to the clouds that surrounded the sky. These soul strands were intermittent, faintly discernible, and extremely mysterious. This is the core of that wisp of primordial spirit. Xiaohua's mind fell on the water bubble. The water bubble was endlessly changing, just like the dance of the primordial spirit. Following the changes of the water bubble, the green light reflected on the human figure, and the human figure also swayed in the green light. This swaying was somewhat compatible with Little White Dragon's dance. Little White Dragon had already said earlier that it was currently weak, so they should not disturb it. Xiaohua looked at it for a moment, then quietly retreated. Moreover, he sent some of the moonlight into clear spirit sky, illuminating the entire clear spirit sky. Lightning tribulation is indeed incomparably mysterious. Xiaohua was satisfied. If Little White Dragon didn't tell me, how would I know that this lightning tribulation that can strike people to death has so many benefits? There's really a great terror between life and death. And in between this terror, there are great benefits. It's just that ordinary people are already exhausted from dealing with the lightning tribulation. Who would dare to do such a thing? Even now, when this young master thinks about it, this young master's actions that day were really too crazy. Xiaohua curled his lips. If it wasn't for the fact that I was in a desperate situation with no way out and had the idea of taking a gamble, this young master wouldn't have divulged all these details. Thinking of the endless benefits, Xiaohua's heart itched again, and he prepared to look at the Dream Slayer and Mountain Splitter. However, at this moment, Zhang Qingxiao's figure appeared not far away, and she was happy. Zhang Qingxiao's expression was a little strange, as if she was a little excited, but also a little disappointed. Zhang Qingxiao's figure landed on the flying boat, but she didn't activate the flying boat. Instead, she asked Xiaohua, "Has the nascent soul master of your Imperial Thunder Sect already gone to Sky Patrol City?" "Yes," Xiaohua said curiously. "When I met with the junior brother of the Myriad Thunder Valley that day, Spiritual Master Me, you had already led a group of disciples to Sky Patrol City. What's wrong? Qianlei Zi is in seclusion? Why didn't he go to Sky Patrol City? Is he really in seclusion?" Zhang Qingxiao's tone was a little hesitant. Xiaohua smiled and replied, "How would I know about this matter? Even Cui Hongxin only heard about it from others. Whether he is really in seclusion or not, I'm afraid only the 8 masters of my Imperial Thunder Sect know about it. Right? They're all a group of old foxes." Zhang Qingxiao snorted coldly. She seemed to be very angry. "What's wrong?" Xiaohua asked. "Other than my Imperial Thunder Sect's master, which other masters didn't go to Sky Patrol City?" "Almost half of the sects didn't go," Zhang Qingxiao said lazily. "What does this have to do with you?" Xiao Hua asked halfway before he suddenly realized something. I understand now. Oomph. It's good that you understand. Zhang Qingxiao's face was lonely. She sighed and said, I have calculated everything. I just want to take advantage of the time when these nascent soul masters go to Sky Patrol City to spread the banner of Heavenly Demon Sect. But I have already prepared everything, but they have left half of their masters in their own nest. What am I supposed to do? Then don't be in a hurry to open a sect. Come with me, and we'll talk about it later. Xiao Hua said with a smile. What a pity. Zhang Qingxiao stretched and said, In addition to this bad news, I have another bad news to tell you. Chapter 27-25. What bad news? Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows. Could it be that you're not going with me? Yes, not only can I not go with you, even you can't go. Zhang Qingxiao stopped playing around and said seriously, I just don't know how you're doing with your soul-punishing light. Oh, they're here. Xiao Hua's expression turned cold as he whispered. Yes, it's him who's here, not them. Zhang Qingxiao nodded slightly and corrected, but then he clenched his teeth and said, However, I can't be sure if it's him or not. If it's him, I'm afraid I won't be able to escape this time. If it's not him, with your help, do I still have a chance to escape? Who is him? Xiao Hua's heart trembled. He knew Zhang Qingxiao's strength, and although Zhang Qingxiao didn't know his strength, he should have some estimation. Even Zhang Qingxiao thought that the two of them weren't a match for him. This person is really terrifying. Xiao Hua. Zhang Qingxiao didn't answer his question, but looked into Xiao Hua's eyes and said word by word, This has nothing to do with Shang Huoming. It has nothing to do with revenge. You don't have to participate. Who is him? He's actually so powerful? Xiao Hua didn't answer his question and asked again. Who knew that Zhang Qingxiao was even more ruthless and said, Now, on your shoulders besides yourself, there's also Jiang Luer. Even after I die, there's still Shang Huoming's blood feud, junior sister, and Zhang Yutong. Who is him? Xiao Hua said coldly. Answer my question first, then I'll decide for myself. Zhang Qingxiao shook his head slightly and said indifferently, At this time, I can't tell you yet. If it's really him, and I mention him here, him will immediately be alerted. Hiss! Xiao Hua sucked in a breath of cold air. Wasn't this divine ability similar to the power of Zhong Haoran's prayer? Zhong Haoran's prayer was devout, and he could sense it from nearby. But this him, as long as he crossed the millions of Meng Mountains, he could sense Zhang Qingxiao's chanting in the entire Xiaoyu continent. This kind of divine ability, perhaps even a spirit-severing cultivator, couldn't compare. It's not as powerful as you think. When Zhang Qingxiao saw Xiao Hua's astonishment, she knew that he had misunderstood. She hurriedly explained, Anyone can mention him, and he might not feel anything. I'm the only one who can't mention it. Oh, so that's how it is. Xiao Hua somewhat understood. You'd better go somewhere else. Zhang Qingxiao said gloomily. Earlier, I wanted to use your cultivation to kill him. However, you've never been able to successfully refine the golden dragon silver. Although your strength is comparable to a nascent soul stage cultivator, you're not a nascent soul stage cultivator after all. There are many methods of a nascent soul stage cultivator that you can't use. To tell you the truth, when I was on my way back, I was still thinking about how to join hands with you to kill him. But after thinking about it, apart from this spirit-slaying origin light, there really isn't any other treasure that can restrain him. Demon Monarch Scarlet Maple? Xiao Hua exposed the truth. Zhang Qingxiao shook her head slightly. If it's the person you're talking about, I wouldn't have said these words to you. The strength of the Demon Realm's Demon Monarch is not something we can compare with. You and I should run as far away as possible. Is that the Demon Monarch? Xiao Hua knew that Zhang Qingxiao couldn't say it out loud, so he could only guess. No. Zhang Qingxiao shook her head and said, Is a demon general of the Demon Realm. Oh, you can't say that he's a real demon general. He's just a wisp of the demon general's divine clone. Divine clone? Xiao Hua was stunned. He had just seen his primordial spirit that had gone through the lightning tribulation and now he heard about the divine clone. It was really fate. Even if it's a divine clone, you and I can't beat him even if we join hands? Xiaohua asked. Maybe we can. Zhang Qingxiao pursed her thin lips and said hesitantly, but it's not more than 40%. So low. Xiaohua also hesitated and said in a low voice, you abandon your demonic sect? Can't you just quickly run away from here? You don't understand. Zhang Qingxiao smiled bitterly. If I don't get rid of this person, I'll be found by him no matter where I run. Where is he? Xiaohua asked again. Was he the one who sent you a message just now? At this point, Zhang Qingxiao didn't hide anything from Xiaohua and said, just now, the deputy sect master of my demonic sect sent me a message and told me the list of nascent soul stage cultivators sent by the three kingdoms to Sky Patrol City. He also asked me when I would open the sect. Just when I was hesitating, a communication talisman fell in front of me. As she spoke, Zhang Qingxiao took out a thumb-sized, pitch-black demonic slip. This demonic slip was a bit different from what Xiaohua had seen before. Within the pitch-black demonic energy, there were traces of bloodstains. The bloodstains were like ghost heads surging. This isn't the communication talisman of my demonic sect, nor is it the communication talisman of the demonic cultivators of the Dawn Rain continent. Zhang Qingxiao said helplessly. Although there's no information about him inside, his aura and style of doing things are no different from him. Xiaohua didn't take the devil slip. Instead, he asked, what did the communication talisman say? He told me to open the sect according to the previous plan. Zhang Qingxiao's eyes flashed with a trace of gloom, and he told me to go to Tianju Peak to see him. It seems that he has been here for a long time, Xiaohua said with a sullen face. And he even colluded with some people from your demonic sect. Yes. Zhang Qingxiao nodded. That's for sure. Otherwise, he wouldn't have known about my plan. Yinming, Xiaohua asked. Most likely, Yinming seems to have come from Mount Millionming. Zhang Qingxiao gritted his teeth and said, this Yinming is more sinister than I thought. He must have been here for a long time, but the deputy sect master of my demonic sect didn't report to me. Hee, if Yinming came looking for the universal shift token, do you think I would be lucky enough to escape? You have the Imperial Thunder sect to protect you. Zhang Qingxiao sighed and said, or you can give me the universal shifting token now, and you can stay out of this. Let's go. Xiaohua stretched out his hand and took Zhang Luer into his space, sighing, Zhang Luer is senior sister's child. I can't ignore his matter. Your trouble is my second senior brother's matter. I can't ignore it. Now that my cultivation is higher than yours, if I don't help you, how will master and eldest senior brother reprimand me when they find out? When did your cultivation become higher than mine? Zhang Qingxiao's heart warmed, but he didn't give in and said coldly, even if you're comparable to a nascent soul cultivator, you're still inferior to mine. It's useless to say more. Let's see who kills him. That's the real expert, Xiaohua said with a smile. All right, it's a deal. Zhang Qingxiao stretched out his hand and pressed on the flying boat. The flying boat suddenly soared into the sky and rushed to the place where he went. Is Tianju Peak over there? Xiaohua looked into the distance and asked. Nonsense. Tianju Peak naturally isn't there. Zhang Qingxiao smiled and said, let's first settle Zhang Luer down. Then I'll send out the order for Heavenly Devil Sect's establishment. Only then can you and I head to Tianju Peak. Oh, all right. Xiaohua nodded slightly. Just as Zhang Qingxiao had expected, the news of the Heavenly Devil Sect establishment was like throwing a huge rock into the already chaotic Dawn Rain continent, shocking all the cultivators of the Dawn Rain continent to the point that they were caught off guard. On the Dawn Rain continent, fiendish cultivators had always been despised by everyone. They were all inferior cultivators. All the cultivators, no matter if they were from cultivation sects, cultivation aristocratic families, or rogue cultivators, they all treated devil cultivators as abnormal. Even if their devil artifacts were useful and many body cultivators liked to use them, they never thought that these devil cultivators who couldn't see the light of day actually dared to establish their own sect. Once this heavenly devil sect was established, it was established in Xi, Ming, and Lian at the same time. There were actually 3 places where the heavenly devil sect's banner was raised. What's more, these 3 places were originally where the Dao sect's cultivators were located. Xi country's Huai Xian Fan clan, Jie Ran Zhao clan, and Fanxiu Zhao clan were originally 3 famous cultivation aristocratic families in the eastern part of Xi country. Now that all their disciples had joined the heavenly devil sect, the 3 families were originally not far from each other in terms of strength. Now that they were joined together, they became the foundation of the heavenly devil sect in Xi country. Ming country's Dengxian city's Ming clan, Mo country's Qi clan, and Yi city's Qian clan were similar to the 3 aristocratic families in Xi country. However, these 3 families had a fierce and cruel battle with the heavenly devil sect's disciples. However, because the heavenly devil sect had been planning for a long time and these 3 families were caught off guard, the surrounding small cultivation sects didn't have time to send reinforcements, and the 3 families had already fallen into the hands of the heavenly devil sect. Lian country's Qianpeng Ridge's Huang clan, Heavenly Devil Cave's Chong clan, and Fanyu Mountain's Wang clan had long been controlled by Zhang Qingxiao. Once Zhang Qingxiao gave the order, the 3 families simply fell under the heavenly devil sect without shedding a drop of blood. Regardless of whether it was the 3 cultivation aristocratic families in Xi country, Ming country, or Lian country, they were all very close to each other. They could train together and support each other. The foundations of the 3 heavenly devil sects in the 3 countries were also not too far apart. They could also support each other. Even the foundations of these heavenly devil sects were connected by secret transmission arrays that Dao sect cultivators didn't know about. The heavenly devil sect's move could not be said to be small, and the timing could not be said to be not clever. However, the 9 cultivation aristocratic families they found were not particularly big, and their relationships with the nearby cultivation sects were not particularly close. Not to mention that at this time, the various sects and clans had sent out their elites to fight the sword cultivators of Huan country and suffered heavy losses. It was very unlikely that they would make a big fuss over the establishment of a devil sect like the heavenly devil sect. Even in normal times, the reputable sects and clans wouldn't stand up and exterminate the heavenly devil sect for 9 ordinary cultivation aristocratic families. Therefore, although the establishment of the heavenly devil sect had caused a great commotion in the Xiaoyu continent, there were only a few cultivation sects that truly wanted to interfere. As for these 3 cultivation sects that were close to the heavenly devil sect's foundations, they wanted to interfere, but they were really powerless. There were also a few sects that tried to send some disciples, but they were all defeated by the heavenly devil sect one by one. Moreover, it was only defeat and not the bloody annihilation that everyone had imagined. This made everyone heave a sigh of relief. Chapter 27-26. Naturally, after learning about the establishment of the heavenly demon sect, many cultivators secretly pondered. After all, demonic cultivators were also cultivators. Furthermore, demonic cultivators had been around in the Dawn Rain continent for a long time. There seemed to be no conflict of interest between them and cultivators. The conflict between the cultivators of the Dao sect and the swordsmen of the Huan country was far less acute. The current plan was to eliminate the swordsmen. As for the heavenly demon sect, it could be dealt with after the great battle between the cultivators of the Dao sect. Therefore, after more than 10 days of wave caused by the establishment of the heavenly demon sect, the crowd no longer paid attention to the heavenly demon sect after being probed by some cultivators. Instead, they turned their attention to the Sky Patrol City. A group of nascent soul cultivators gathered in the Sky Patrol City. This was the opportunity that Zhang Qingxiao had been planning all along. The development of the matter was also within his calculations. Even if the leaders of the Imperial Thunder sect and other cultivators did not go to the Sky Patrol City, these accidents did not stop him from establishing the Heavenly Demon sect. Of course, if there was no such accident as him, that would be even better. Unfortunately, Although Zhang Qingxiao was an ambitious and ruthless person, it was impossible for him to control everything in his hands. 20 days after issuing the order to establish the sect, he had no choice but to set off alone from the heavenly demon sect in the country of Xi and head to the southwest of the Lian country. The southwest of the Lian country was a continuous stretch of lakes. It was the land of fish and rice that the people of the world spoke of. This stretch of thousands of miles was different from the cold river of the Tianmen Mountain. The cold river of the Tianmen Mountain was a large river that meandered through the entire plain. Many rivers nearby rushed over and merged into the cold river, thus forming the land of water. The land of water in the Lian country was made up of hundreds and thousands of lakes of various sizes. Each lake was connected by small streams of water. Naturally, the lakes varied in size. The large ones were hundreds of acres in size, while the small ones were tens of feet in size. These lakes were not connected by a large river like the cold river. At the edge of the land of fish and rice, there was a mountain range that was neither tall nor short. It was called the Chuling Mountain. There were waterfalls on the mountain, and various mountain springs could be seen everywhere. It was beautiful and magnificent. It was a famous scenic spot in the southwest of the Lian country. Tianju Peak was the highest peak in the Chuling Mountain. This heavenly pillar peak was also strange. It was as straight as a pillar, extending out from the middle of the mountain range. It appeared so abrupt and unruly. Not to mention that it did not match the appearance of the water village that stretched for thousands of miles. It also appeared out of place when compared to those dwarf-like mountain ranges within 100 miles. Although Tianju Peak wasn't the highest peak in the Lian Kingdom, and it wasn't even in the top 10, its reputation was the most resounding in the Lian Kingdom. Every spring and autumn, there would always be a large number of people from the secular world who would bring their families here to enjoy the scenery. The firewood and cotton that bloomed in the spring and autumn was the focus of their pursuit. The firewood cotton was a mixture of red and yellow. It was fluffy like ordinary cotton and didn't look particularly outstanding. However, from top to bottom, Tianju Peak was covered in this rare firewood cotton. When it bloomed, the entire Tianju Peak was dyed in a reddish-yellow color. This reddish-yellow color swayed in the wind like a burning flame. The entire Tianju Peak was covered in a layer of reddish-yellow flames. It was like a burning sword piercing into the sky. Everyone was curious. Being in this flame-like place, it was as if it had turned into a cluster of flames. Their entire body and mind were filled with joy. Right now, it was obviously not the time for the northern winds of spring and autumn. However, the faint, rustling snowflakes that blanketed the sky and covered the earth, landing on the pillar of heaven's peak. The scenery that was completely white had an indescribable charm to it. However, the mountain path of Tianju Peak was covered in snow and was very smooth. Although the mountain path was wide, how could ordinary people climb up the mountain? However, there was always something unusual in this world. Halfway up Tianju Peak, there were two people who were slowly climbing up the peak. Actually, it was a little forced to say that they were climbing. These two people were wearing strange clothes that covered their entire body. Their figures and appearances couldn't be seen. Although their feet landed on the mountain path, the snowflakes under their feet didn't move at all. It was as if their feet were floating in the air above the snowflakes. The two people walked slowly, as if they had walked for a long time without saying a word. The falling snowflakes also landed on their bodies. However, with a slight bounce, they fell down the strange clothes. Not a single snowflake was left on them. Save me. Suddenly, a heart-wrenching scream rang out about 400 feet above the two of them. Immediately after, a black shadow fell down from the cliff on their left with a whoosh sound. I knew it. In such a snowy day, sitting on your own Kong bed, drinking wine, looking at the snowy scenery outside when you have nothing to do. When you have the leisure to tease your wife, when you're frustrated, you can grab your children and give them a few slaps. Isn't this 100 times better than coming to this bullshit Tianju Peak to die? This voice was very strange. It was the voice of the person who had gone through the maze. However, wasn't this the voice of the heavenly demon sex Zhang Qingxiao, who was extremely popular in the Donrain continent? As he spoke, Zhang Qingxiao looked at the person beside him and asked curiously, "Haven't you always liked to reach out and save people? Why this time?" Without waiting for him to finish speaking, the person beside him immediately moved and flew towards the cliff at the side. Naturally, who else could it be other than Xiaohua? "TSK, I knew it. It would be strange if you could endure it." Zhang Qingxiao sneered. He did not stop and continued to walk up the mountain path. However, when he raised his head, he saw a mountain range that was covered by craggy rocks. A soft sigh came from within the maze. After about half a cup of tea's worth of time, Xiaohua Kai slowly flew up from the cliff and landed behind Zhang Qingxiao. "Why are you only back now? Don't tell me you sent him back?" Zhang Qingxiao asked indifferently. "How can one learn without suffering a setback?" Xiaohua also replied indifferently. "If we had saved him when he had just fallen, I'm afraid that he would have been lucky. If I saved him when he was completely disheartened, I would be able to give him an unforgettable lesson." "Good." Zhang Qingxiao almost clapped his hands. "I didn't expect you to have grown up and know how to save people. Damn, how much older can you be than me?" Xiaohua smiled. He pointed at the pillar of Heaven's Peak and said, "Moreover, who knows if this matter was done by him or not? Who knows if this is a test of our cultivation level? I cannot be careful. If it was done by him, then I wouldn't be worried." Zhang Qingxiao sighed. "Him would never do such a senseless thing. We people from the devil realm have always been straightforward. We definitely won't use any probing tricks." "That's enough." Xiaohua sneered. "If they don't know how to probe, then what's the matter with the devil cultivators on Xiaoyu continent? What's the matter with you? What's the matter with that him? Sword cultivators can sneak attack Lian country. Why can't my devil sex people?" Zhang Qingxiao stopped as he spoke. At this time, not far away, near the innermost part of the mountain path, there were several trembling men and women squeezed together. These men and women weren't cultivators, and they were all in their teens. The innermost young man's hand was tightly grasping the protrusion of the stone wall, while the others were holding on to each other. These young people were wearing thin clothes. Although they were squeezed together, their lips were blue from the cold. Clearly, they weren't warm at all. Instead, they looked extremely miserable in this snowy day. Seeing two people suddenly emerge from the mountain path amidst the falling snow, the few youths were stunned at first. Then, a look of surprise flashed across their faces. However, just as they were about to call for help, their gazes fell on the ground beneath the two people's feet. There was no trace of them at all. Looking at the feet of the young people, several long snow marks were drawn from the top of the mountain path. It was extremely messy, and there was even a long snow mark that was drawn out of the cliff. Wasn't it left behind by the person who fell just now? Save me." A girl with a childish face couldn't help but call for help. Her trembling lips and teeth were constantly clattering together. It was extremely cold. "Immortal Elder, save me." Immediately after, a boy of the same age also called out. However, this child stood outside the group of people, and his hand seemed to be a little stiff. As he spoke, his whole body trembled, and his hand actually loosened. Although it wasn't a big deal that his hand loosened, his feet also slipped, and he slid down the slanted mountain path toward the cliff. "Save me." A hysterical cry could no longer be suppressed, and it came out from this young man's mouth. The previous restraint, hesitation, and doubt had long been abandoned in this moment of life and death. "Sigh, knowing that this Heaven Pillar Peak is so dangerous, I just came here normally." Xiaohua sighed. With a slight movement of his body, he appeared beside the youth. He raised his hand and grabbed the youth. However, the Heavenly Pillar Peak is already snowing. For the sake of a bet, for the sake of showing off and wanting to win, you actually climbed up without saying a word to your parents. If you didn't meet this Xiao, wouldn't all of you have lost your lives? Yes, Immortal Elder, save me. Immortal Elder, save me. That young man used his hand and his entire body to hug Xiaohua's arm. He used all the strength in his body, afraid that this life-saving straw would disappear without a trace. Do all of you know that you are wrong? Xiaohua's arm was like cast iron, and it didn't move at all. He easily lifted up the young man's thin body, and looked at the few young people. Yes, yes, we know that we are wrong. The few young men scrambled to be the first to cry out. However, Xiao Hua still asked with interest, "Tell me, do you know where you are wrong?" Chapter 27:27. We shouldn't be so competitive. We knew that this Tianju Peak is slippery in snow and could easily get into trouble. But for some silver to fight for our dignity, we climbed this dangerous peak. A girl cleverly says. What else? Xiao Hua says unrelentingly. We shouldn't be so impulsive and bet with those people. A few people clench their teeth and endure the cold, as they say. Sigh. Young people. Xiao Hua sighs. Just as he is about to open his mouth, the innermost youth who has been using his hand to grab the stone wall, his knuckles are already white and blood is seeping out from his fingernails. He says, "The most damnable thing is that we didn't think of our parents. They must be panicking right now and must have begged their neighbors to search for us. But they definitely didn't think that we would be so reckless and actually climb Tianju Peak." Xiao Hua looks at the youth from top to bottom. The youth uses his hand to grab the stone wall and has his back facing Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua can only see his delicate and pretty face from the side. However, although the youth's clothes are a bit shabby, they are washed very clean. He looks a bit different from the other youths. That's right, you are absolutely right. Xiao Hua nods and says, when a person is alive, there is not only himself. You also have your family by your side. You are the flesh and blood of your family. If you don't protect yourselves, then you are letting down your family. Don't think that your parents don't know that they have already gathered at the foot of Tianju Peak. However, the mountain path is slippery now. Even if there is a large sum of money, no one will come to die. Instead, your parents are already preparing to come up personally. Father, mother, hearing this, how can these people still hold back the fear in their hearts and the longing for their family? They all cry out, and the tears of the two girls flow out. Daoist Xiao, hurry up and send them down. Zhang Qingxiao smiles and says, if you don't send them off, their parents will really come up. At that time, you still have to send them off. Daoist Xiao, the youth who is climbing the stone wall, hears Zhang Qingxiao's words and hurriedly calls out, You are Daoist Xiao. I'm not. Xiao Hua replies without any trace of politeness. You all come over here. As he spoke, he waved his hand, and several youths involuntarily flew towards Xiao Hua. Daoist Master Xiao. The innermost youth was still holding onto the stone wall, unwilling to let go as he called out, Today, I came to Tianju Peak differently from them. This kid has a blood feud, so I came to Tianju Peak to look for Senior Immortal. Why would Xiao Hua care about him? His body flew up and fell down the cliff. Faintly, the two girls cried out in fright. This time, he was extremely fast. In just a short moment, Xiao Hua flew over again. It's quite fast this time. Zhang Qingxiao seemed to have become more talkative after reaching Tianju Peak. Their parents have already climbed up the pillar of Heaven Peak. I only sent them to the foot of the mountain, beside their parents. Xiao Hua said, and couldn't help but be a little surprised. This young man is indeed somewhat interesting. Zhang Qingxiao seemed to have also discovered something fishy and said with a smile. Let's go. Xiao Hua shook his head. If it was a normal day, I would have helped. But now, we can't even guarantee our lives. How can we care about others? Following which, Xiao Hua walked up the mountain path. There are those adults watching from the left and right. He won't be able to climb up today. Are we still going to continue? Zhang Qingxiao asked with a smile that wasn't a smile. When Xiao Hua heard this, he stopped a few feet away, turned his head and said, If you feel that there is nothing left in this world, if you feel that you can already face him, then we don't have to leave. Actually, when Xiao Hua said this, his heart was also nervous. When he and Zhang Qingxiao flew over and saw Tianju Peak in front of them, Zhang Qingxiao, who had always been fearless, actually felt fear in her heart. She even suggested that they slowly climb up the mountain from the foot of the mountain. Xiao Hua really didn't know what this him had on Zhang Qingxiao to make Zhang Qingxiao who was almost at the late stage of golden core, have a slight change in expression and even her body slightly tremble, as if in front of him, Zhang Qingxiao was only a child who didn't even have the strength to truss up a chicken. At the same time, Xiaohua also understood that if he didn't come, Zhang Qingxiao alone would probably surrender upon seeing him, without even the courage to resist. Therefore, Xiaohua had no choice but to come. Even without Yimeng and the Grand Universe teleportation token, he still had to come. He was currently Zhang Qingxiao's mental support, the family behind those youngsters who rashly climbed up the pillar of Heaven Peak. In this world, there are naturally things that I am reluctant to leave behind. Zhang Qingxiao looked at the snowflakes floating in the air, and then looked at the abyss where the snowflakes fell, and said with a smile, "In the future, there will be even more things that I am reluctant to leave behind in this Dawn Rain continent. But right now, I have to first walk this path and not fall into the abyss." As she said that, Zhang Qingxiao turned to look at Xiaohua and said with a smile, "I have no choice but to walk this dangerous path, but you are really good, insisting on joining in the fun. If you fall down yourself, don't blame me." Ha ha ha, it's still not certain who will fall down. Xiaohua laughed heartily. His figure suddenly shot straight up into the sky, and all the snow was scattered by his figure. Even if I fall down, I will definitely pull someone down with me. Zhang Qingxiao also shouted, and her figure also flew up into the sky with Xiaohua. The peak of the Pillar of Heaven Peak was naturally not flat, and there were even some abrupt rocks and stone spikes all over. Moreover, this peak was already extremely cold, and cold winds would occasionally blow past. Only a few sharp thorns grabbed onto the gaps between the rocks, and only then was Xiaohua able to find a trace of azure within this pale white color. Xiaohua's two hands slightly clenched into fists, and he had already released his divine sense, scanning the several hundred feet around the peak. Other than the wind and the drifting snowflakes, there was not a single person. Zhang Qingxiao, who was behind Xiaohua, also clearly heaved a sigh of relief, and even said somewhat deliberately, "Looks like I still came early." However, before Zhang Qingxiao's words fell, she saw a faint black shadow appear in the distance, and it flew towards the two of them. Although this black shadow was still very far from the Pillar of Heaven Peak, Zhang Qingxiao and Xiaohua were already on high alert. The moment the black shadow appeared, the two of them discovered it, and their divine sense swept over without hesitation. And, as expected, it was this fellow who revealed it. Zhang Qingxiao's divine sense swept over the black shadow, and she immediately gnashed her teeth and said, "I should have killed him long ago." Seeing that the black shadow was Yimeng, who was rushing over, Xiaohua withdrew his divine sense. He had seen Yimeng once when he was training in the Foundation Establishment realm. At that time, he and Zhang Qingxiao had yet to recognize each other. Now that he was already in the Gold Core realm, how could he still put Yimeng, who was only in the Foundation Establishment realm, in his eyes? You should say this to yourself. Xiaohua sneered. If this fellow was not useful, I'm afraid you would have already killed him. Hee hee. Zhang Qingxiao rubbed her hands and laughed. I wanted to rope him in, and even gave him the position of the first vice-sect leader of the Heavenly Demon Sect. Even, I had always been showing weakness in front of him, making him feel that he was the true sect leader of the Heavenly Demon Sect. But I didn't expect that all of these could not be compared to him, When she mentioned him, Zhang Qingxiao, who had already recovered her calm, became cautious again. She released her divine sense again, and not only did it sweep behind Yimeng, but also swept the surroundings of the Pillar of Heaven Peak. There's no need to look. There's no one nearby, no matter if it's a cultivator or a demon general. Xiaohua whispered. How would you know the methods of the demon realm's demon generals? Zhang Qingxiao was still not at ease. My concealment technique is not worth mentioning in his eyes. So powerful. When Xiaohua heard this, his heart jumped even more, and he unconsciously opened his Dharma eyes again. Ever since the lightning tribulation, Xiaohua increasingly felt that there was something wrong with his Dharma eyes. It was like the naked eye was blurry, and there were often some places that he could not see clearly. However, Xiaohua himself did not know the origin of this Dharma eyes and how to use it, so naturally, he could not find a source. After Xiaohua looked at it again, he really didn't see anything. Only then did he close his Dharma eyes and watch Zhang Qingxiao inspect it over and over again. Seeing that Yiming had already flown close, and after Yiming's divine sense swept over, Zhang Qingxiao stopped her useless inspection, got rid of the Mimi, and flew in front of Xiaohua to welcome Yiming. Greetings, Sect Master. When Yiming saw Zhang Qingxiao after the Mimi was removed, his face showed a look of understanding, and he flew in front of Zhang Qingxiao unhurriedly and bowed. However, looking at his indifferent appearance, it seemed that as Zhang Qingxiao said, he really did not put Zhang Qingxiao, the sect master, in his eyes. Vice Sect Master Yin, why did you come to Tianzhu Peak? Zhang Qingxiao asked gloomily. Now is the critical moment of my heavenly demon sect's establishment. Sect Master is not here, but you, as the first Vice Sect Master of the Heavenly Demon Sect, should be in charge of the affairs of the Lian country. Why did you run here? Yiming frowned, puzzled, and said, Well, Sect Master knows. This Yin received a communication talisman, saying, At this point, Yiming's gaze fell on Xiaohua, and he whispered, I don't know who this person behind Sect Master is. This is this Sect Master's trusted aide. This Sect Master can trust him. Speak. Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand and asked indifferently, Are you sure you want this Yiming to say it? Yiming said coldly, Nonsense, I told you to say it. So say it. Zhang Qingxiao said angrily, Are you the Sect Master of the Heavenly Demon Sect? Or am I? Sect Master Zhang, you are so awe-inspiring, so ferocious. Ha ha ha. Yiming laughed, clapped his hands, and took out a magic slip similar to the one Zhang Qingxiao showed Xiaohua before, and said, Lord Ji Peng. Chapter 27-28. At this point, Yiming purposely paused and coldly looked at Zhang Qingxiao, just as Xiaohua was worried. Zhang Qingxiao suddenly felt like he had lost his soul. His eyes flashed with fear, and he almost blurted out, Where is my lord? What did he say? After speaking, Zhang Qingxiao came to his senses. He narrowed his eyes and clenched his fists. He looked at Yiming with some anger and said coldly, If you have something to say it quickly. Don't be so long-winded. However, when Yiming heard this, he waved his hand and put away the magic slip. He smiled and said, It's rare to see Lord Sect Master angry. This old man thought that Lord Sect Master wouldn't get angry. Zhang Qingxiao didn't feel any pressure in front of Yiming. He faintly said, Although this Sect Master is very modest and usually doesn't get angry at subordinates, this Sect Master is being played like a monkey. This Sect Master will naturally get angry. Played like a monkey? Ha ha, Sect Master Zhang. You are indeed insightful. These words are extremely well said. Yiming suddenly stared blankly. Then he clapped his hands and laughed. Since you know that this subordinate was disrespectful to Sect Master, Lord Sect Master will get angry. However, what if someone doesn't listen to Lord Ji Peng's words? What if they feign compliance, but secretly disobey his orders? Lord Ji Peng will get angry? Zhang Qingxiao's expression changed slightly. He looked around and coldly said, Yiming, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by this, old man? Yiming's face revealed a mysterious expression. He glanced at the motionless Xiaohua and said, This old man only wants to ask on behalf of Lord Ji Peng. Do you still remember why Lord Ji Peng brought you here and left you in the cultivation 3 kingdoms? Have you already forgotten that you are a member of the demon realm? Zhang Qingxiao's face was slightly pale, but he still reluctantly scolded. This is our Sect Master's matter. When Lord Ji Peng arrives, this Sect Master will personally report to him. What does this have to do with you? Naturally, it has nothing to do with this old man. Yiming was still smiling. However, this old man still wants to ask Lord Sect Master, what is going on with Yellow Flower Ridge? Yellow Flower Ridge? Zhang Qingxiao's eyes flashed with a trace of fierceness, and her body involuntarily moved a little. But looking at Meng, he was still calm, and his body didn't move at all, as if he had nothing to fear. You, how do you know about Yellow Flower Ridge? Zhang Qingxiao looked around again, forcefully suppressing the killing intent in her heart as she coldly asked. What a coincidence! Meng answered all of Zhang Qingxiao's questions. This old man was once in the country of Shi and happened to meet a disciple of my heavenly demon sect who I had some impression of. When I spoke to him, he was actually vague and even evasive. This old man had no choice but to ask about him. Did you kill by Tianfeng? Zhang Qingxiao suddenly realized something and asked coldly. If he doesn't answer this old man's question, it means that he's being disrespectful to this old man, the vice sect leader. According to the rules of my heavenly demon sect, it's not a big deal for this old man to attack him. Meng giggled and said, besides, this old man only searched his soul and didn't take his life. It was just that he went crazy and fell from a cliff. Zhang Qingxiao's face turned extremely ugly. From Bai Tianfeng, this old man didn't get anything useful. Meng looked at Zhang Qingxiao and said with interest, this old man only knew that Bai Tianfeng was going to Yellow Flower Ridge. This Yellow Flower Ridge, what kind of place is it? This old man is very curious. Lord Sect Leader, you said that my heavenly demon sect already has a foundation in the country of Shi. Why are you going to Yellow Flower Ridge? This sect leader's actions. Do I need to tell you the reason? Yes, this old man thought. Even if this old man wanted to ask, Lord Sect Leader wouldn't answer. So, this old man had to go check it out personally. You went to Yellow Flower Ridge. Zhang Qingxiao's eyes were already curved like a falcon's. This old man hasn't been to Yellow Flower Ridge yet. Meng shrugged slightly and said with a smile, if this old man went, wouldn't Lord Sect Leader know? Of course, it's not that this old man didn't want to go, but before this old man went to Yellow Flower Ridge, according to plan, I've already discovered some of Lord Sect Leader's secrets. What do you know? Zhang Qingxiao crossed his arms and seemed to have thrown caution to the wind. Meng was still smiling as he said unhurriedly, actually, it's nothing much. This old man just found out that Yellow Flower Ridge didn't belong to Hunter Herb sect, but a small sect called Shanghuaming. This small sect only has 3.5 disciples, and one of them is called Zhang Qingxiao. But that Zhang Qingxiao doesn't seem to be the same person as Lord Sect Leader. He's far from being as handsome and charming as Lord Sect Leader. Zhang Qingxiao's eyelids twitched, and he raised his arm. But when he saw that Meng was still fearless and didn't care about his actions, he stopped and said lightly, continue. Actually, even if this Zhang Qingxiao has the same name as Lord Sect Leader, and even if Lord Sect Leader is this Zhang Qingxiao, it's fine, Meng said again. But this old man found out that Shang Huaming's disciple who hasn't entered the sect is called Xiaohua. Lord Sect Leader, don't you think it's strange? This Xiaohua has the same name as Xiaohua of the Imperial Thunder sect. Even their looks are the same. Meng's tone was a little cold. Even if this Xiaohua of Shang Huaming is Xiaohua of the Imperial Thunder sect, it's fine. But this Xiaohua of the Imperial Thunder sect seems to be the Xiaohua who got the Qinkuan teleportation token from Fantong, right? It seems Lord Sect Leader still doesn't know this Xiaohua, right? You still want this old man to go to Meng Nation to find Xiaohua? Zhang Qingxiao looked at Meng silently, not knowing what he was thinking. Actually, this old man doesn't care if Lord Sect Leader is the same person as this Zhang Qingxiao of Shanghuaming. So what if this Zhang Qingxiao is that Zhang Qingxiao? Doesn't Lord Ji Peng have thousands of incarnations? It's normal for his subordinates to have hundreds and thousands of incarnations. Moreover, Lord Sect Leader has racked his brains for this heavenly demon sect, working hard every day. This old man has seen this merit. It's also for this heavenly demon sect that this old man has been assisting Lord Sect Leader. However, after this old man found out about Shanghuaming, I shockingly discovered that Shanghuaming had disappeared from Yellow Flower Ridge in a single night. This old man has some doubts. If 100 Herb's sect were to take action, aren't their guts too big? Aren't their appetites too good? Of course, no one knows how Shang Huaming's sect was exterminated that year. Even this old man couldn't find any results by several days. However, this old man also doesn't want to investigate, because whether Shang Huaming existed or not has nothing to do with this old man. This old man's purpose in coming to the Three Kingdoms has nothing to do with this sect. Yin Meng's voice became colder. However, this old man has no choice but to ask Lord Sect Leader. Since Lord Sect Leader knows the whereabouts of Xiaohua of the Imperial Thunder Sect, and also knows that the Qinquan teleportation token is in Xiaohua's hands, and Lord Sect Leader even has some connections with Xiaohua. Why did you throw Lord Ji Peng's matter to the back of your mind? Don't you know the true meaning of this Qinquan teleportation token? At this point, although Yin Meng didn't point out Zhang Qingxiao's true identity, he had already treated this Zhang Qingxiao as the same person. Immediately, Yin Meng turned to look at Xiaohua and said, "Moreover, Shang Huaming's Xiaohua also has a mysterious background. When he was in Shang Huaming, he was just a boy who hadn't even reached level 3 of the Qi refining stage. After he came to the Imperial Thunder Sect, his cultivation soared. According to the latest battle report, not only did he make a lot of military exploits, but he even killed Qin Jian. His military exploits are second only to Li Zongbao of the Utopia faction. Lord Sect Leader, don't tell me you didn't contribute to this? This has nothing to do with me." Zhang Qingxiao said coldly. "I really don't understand. This is an old story from decades ago. Where did you find it? In this world, whether it's the Xiaoyu continent, millions of Meng mountains, or even the demon realm, if you don't want people to know, don't do it in the first place. People leave their names, and geese leave their voices. As long as you have the heart, you can always find out." Yin Meng said proudly, then turned to Xiaohua and said, "Don't you think so, fellow cultivator Xiaohua?" That's right. Xiaohua had long wanted to get rid of the Yin Meng. When he heard Yin Meng's words, he tore the Yin Meng away and said coldly, "In this world, only the dead can't reveal secrets. I'm afraid you're really tired of living." "You're Xiaohua?" When Yin Meng saw Xiaohua's true face, he couldn't help but be stunned. "I seem to have seen you somewhere before." As Yin Meng said this, he looked at Zhang Qingxiao and suddenly realized something. "Haha, so that's how it is. When we were at Lingpei Mountain Villa, Lord Sect Leader had already hidden this matter from me. Lord Sect Leader's shrewdness is really deep." However, Zhang Qingxiao's figure moved slightly and began to circle to the other side of Yin Meng, forming a triangle with Xiaohua. "What? Lord Sect Leader wants to keep me here?" Yin Meng wasn't timid, and a trace of a smile appeared on his face as he said indifferently, "That's right." Zhang Qingxiao said calmly. "Junior martial brother, Xiao, has already said it very well. Only the dead can keep secrets. You know so much, yet you still want to leave this Tianju Peak? Ha 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 ha, I naturally want to leave." Yin Meng laughed loudly. "This heavenly demon sect has just been established. How can it be established without the sect leader's guidance? I'm the first vice sect leader of the heavenly demon sect. In the absence of a sect leader, it's naturally up to me to lead the heavenly demon sect." "I understand now." Zhang Qingxiao suddenly understood. "So, that Lord Ji Peng's MO bamboo slip was planned by you all. Lord Ji Peng. He didn't even come to the cultivation Three Kingdoms." Chapter 27-29. Haha, of course. If Lord Ji Peng were here, would you still be standing here obediently? Yin Meng laughed. "You've had a problem with me for a long time, but you didn't dare to do anything because the Heavenly Demon Sect hasn't been established yet. Now that the Heavenly Demon Sect has been established, I'm no longer of any use to you. Is that why you want to get rid of me?" Zhang Qingxiao said coldly. When Yin Meng heard this, he shrugged and said with a smile, "This old man didn't want to get rid of you so early. After all, Qing Fengmin and the others have been planning this Heavenly Demon Sect for many years, but they never realized it. Only you can establish the heavenly demon sect. You're indeed very useful. In fact, in my plan, you can always be the sect master of the heavenly demon sect until Lord Ji Peng and the others arrive. It's a pity that you're walking further and further away from Lord Ji Peng. Furthermore, your cultivation is becoming increasingly powerful. If this old man doesn't act now, I'm afraid that you'll kill this old man before I even do anything, especially when I realize that you no longer have Lord Ji Peng in your heart. If I let you develop, when Lord Ji Peng arrives, I won't be able to answer to him even if I'm still alive. So, you used Lord Ji Peng's demonic slip to order us to establish the sect first and then deceived us to come here? Zhang Qingxiao asked coldly. Haha, sect master, you're wrong. Yimeng clapped his hands and took out the demonic slip. He smiled and said, This was given to me by Lord Ji Peng. It's used to order you, evil creature. However, I didn't take it out because I've been watching your performance all this time. You, could it be that you've already? Zhang Qingxiao's expression changed abruptly. That's right. Yimeng sneered. Although you're good at concealing yourself and hid the aura of the demon realm in your body, I have Lord Ji Peng's demonic slip. How can I not know your origin? So what if you erase the demon soul imprint? Do you think your contract with Lord Ji Peng will disappear in front of the demon god? Upon hearing the word contract, Zhang Qingxiao trembled involuntarily, as if she was extremely afraid. Since you have this demon token, why did you ask me to come to this heaven pillar peak? Zhang Qingxiao's teeth began to chatter. Haha, do you still need to say it? Yimeng looked at Xiao Hua proudly and said, If he wasn't at Tianzhu Peak, if he wasn't close to the great Dao cultivation strategy, would this junior brother Xiao of yours be able to appear in time? Could he send the Grand Universe teleportation token over? Ha ha ha, he has benefited a lot from you. When you are in danger, how can he not help you? Good plan, good plan. Ha ha, I always thought that I had you in the palm of my hand, but I never thought that you were actually a poisoned thorn. Zhang Qingxiao laughed like a madman. That's right. Zhang Qingxiao had been enduring silently in front of Yimeng. She had thought that she was the master of the matter, but in the end, she realized that what she had done was just a farce. Yimeng had already seen through it. In fact, Yimeng's arrogance and conceit was just arrogance and conceit to begin with. How can this old man compare to Lord Ji Peng? Yimeng said with a smile. This was all his orders. Hearing the mention of Lord Ji Peng, Zhang Qingxiao's body trembled again. Clearly, she was extremely afraid. Xiao Hua had been silent all this while. Seeing this scene, he sneered and said, Yimeng, the three of us will definitely fight today. Either you die or I die. This young master has a question that I really want to know. I wonder if you can answer it. This young master? This old man? Ha ha. As expected of senior brother and junior brother. All of you are extremely arrogant. Yimeng laughed loudly and said, Go ahead and ask. See if this old man wants to answer. It's very simple. Xiao Hua waved his hand and took out the Grand Universe teleportation token. He asked indifferently, This item is merely a Dharma token used for long-distance teleportation arrays. Is it that important? Is it actually worth your scheming? Oh, you are really making things difficult for this old man with this question. Yimeng glanced coldly at Zhang Qingxiao, whose body was slightly bent, and said, In the entire Dawn Rain continent's 3 cultivation countries, I am afraid that only this old man knows the secret. It's just that this involves the arrival of Lord Ji Peng. How can this old man tell you? If you tell me, this young master might be merciful and not destroy this Dharma token. As Xiao Hua spoke, he extended his left hand and held the 2 ends of the Grand Universe teleportation token. He smiled and said, If you don't tell me, don't blame this young master for being ruthless and destroying this Dharma token. That Lord Ji Peng of your family can forget about ever coming over. Ha ha ha, what a joke. Do you think that this Grand Universe teleportation token is merely a Dharma token used for teleportation? Yimeng laughed loudly. You can try. This old man doesn't believe that you can actually destroy this item of the demon realm? What? This Dharma token has other uses? Xiao Hua was slightly stunned, but he had already exerted force in his hand. Who would have thought that the Grand Universe teleportation token would be so incomparably hard? Even when Xiao Hua exerted force in his hand, this item did not budge at all. There was simply no reaction at all. Damn it, there is indeed something fishy about this item. Xiao Hua suddenly understood. This Meng might be using the pretense of repairing the Grand Universe teleportation token as an excuse to do some other tricks. Haha, how about it? Meng looked at Xiao Hua's deflated expression and sneered. This item is completely useless in your hands. If you give it to this old man can still consider letting this evil creature live. As he spoke, Meng glanced at Zhang Qingxiao. Whether I live or die, it is naturally up to me to decide. What does it have to do with you? Zhang Qingxiao roared angrily. He opened his mouth, and the bright scenic bell immediately flew out. It turned into a golden light and smashed towards Meng. At the same time, he touched his hand and took out a scarlet triangular flag from his storage pouch. He was just about to wave it. Evil creature, Meng sneered. The devil slip in his hand suddenly released countless black threads that were several feet long. They were like the tentacles of the devil slip. The moment these black threads appeared, the devil slip immediately let out a strange cry. This cry was extremely ear-piercing and rushed into Xiao Hua's ears like a sharp sword. When Xiao Hua saw Zhang Qingxiao make a move, he originally wanted to open his mouth and release the Dream Slayer and Mountain Splitter. However, this devil slip not only pierced his ears, but also his heart. It caused the blood in his veins to surge. It was extremely similar to the feeling during the blood sacrifice. How could Xiao Hua still want to attack? He hastily patted his forehead. Amitba, he released the 3 feet tall Buddha relic. Amidst the wind and snow, the merciful Buddha's light shone brightly, blocking the demonic cry of the black silk. Xiao Hua raised his hand and took out the 5-element staff. He clenched his teeth and stood under the Buddha relic, coldly looking at Meng. This Meng was indeed not simple. Just now, the devil slip of unknown origin caused Xiao Hua to be at a disadvantage. And this disadvantage was secondary. The most important thing was that the devil slip's devil slip seemed to be Zhang Qingxiao's nemesis. As soon as Zhang Qingxiao heard this devil slip, his entire body trembled rapidly. His limbs did not listen to him at all and curled up together. His entire body even fell down in midair. Moreover, after the waving devil slip trembled, the devil slip suddenly expanded and fell on Zhang Qingxiao's body. The devil slip firmly entangled him, and there were even hundreds of devil slip's black slip that pierced his glabella. Zhang Qingxiao's mouth was wide open, making inexplicable sounds. It seemed like he was howling, but also seemed like he was crying. His round eyes were now white, and his black pupils had shrunk to the size of a bean, slowly rotating in his eye sockets. As Zhang Qingxiao screamed, his corporeal body began to twist and change. Some sharp black thorns suddenly shot out from a certain part of his body, and these black thorns quickly retracted the moment they pierced through his clothes. Xiao Hua sucked in a breath of cold air. He really did not expect that Zhang Qingxiao would not have any strength to fight back against Meng. And he really understood Zhang Qingxiao's fear from before, as well as his abnormal behavior when he went up the mountain. This Meng was none other than that bullshit Lord Ji Peng. With just a devil slip, he was able to torture Zhang Qingxiao to this state. If it was really as Zhang Qingxiao had expected, then when Lord Ji Peng came, Zhang Qingxiao would probably be paralyzed, right? What kind of secret technique did you use? You actually managed to erase the devil slip so cleanly? Not only was Xiao Hua shocked, but Meng was also extremely shocked when he saw Zhang Qingxiao struggling under the devil slip's black slip. According to Lord Ji Peng, as long as you hear the devil slip's black slip, you will return to your original body. Why are you still struggling after using the 1,000 slips entanglement? Yuval Spawn, you really want to be a human being? Go! Meng opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of devil slip's black slip towards Zhang Qingxiao. Zhang Qingxiao could not help but cry out loudly. His body under the devil's slip's black slip quickly squirmed, as if it had no bones. Devil's slip, go to hell. Xiaohua felt a pain in his heart. His figure flashed through the air like a breeze and flew in front of Yimeng. He raised his wishful steel staff and struck towards Yimeng's head. Oh, it's actually the flowing cloud movement technique? Yimeng's eyes lit up. He casually waved his hand, and a devil slip's black slip rushed out of his sleeves and blocked the wishful steel staff. The devil slip's black slip seemed to have intelligence as it bared its fangs and brandished its claws. Oomph. The primordial spirit within the Buddha's relic was not stimulated by Xiaohua. He slightly opened his mouth and said, Lin. Along with the incantation, the Buddha's seal was also pinched and struck out. Oh, you actually understand the Buddhist mantra? Seeing Xiaohua's Buddha's relic strike out, the golden Buddha's light fell. Although this Lin word had the effect of transcendence, it was not used for fighting. However, under the Buddha's light, the devil slip's black slip was like a snowflake under the strong light. It instantly melted, and the devil slip's black slip. Chapter 2730. Seeing that the Buddhist mantra was effective, Xiaohua opened his mouth again without hesitation. The confrontation, character spiraled in the air and fell towards Zhang Qingxiao. You dare! Yimeng shouted angrily. He also opened his mouth and a black light rushed out. It turned into a black net in front of the mantra to block it. With a pu sound, the confrontation, character fell and broke the black net. It landed on Zhang Qingxiao's body without stopping. See, you. Yimeng was shocked. He did not expect that in just a few decades, Xiaohua's Buddhist cultivation had actually reached such a high realm. It was precisely his nemesis. When the confrontation character landed on Zhang Qingxiao's body, it made a ZZ sound. Although the black threads disappeared like melting snow, the golden mantra was also exhausted. And, seeing this, Xiaohua did not find it strange. These black threads were the demonic order bestowed by Lord Jipeng. If it was broken by a simple mantra, then it would be strange. Confrontation. Xiaohua directly urged the Buddha Sarira to land between him and Zhang Qingxiao. One mantra after another landed on it. Ha, this old man has not seen your Vajradharma body for many years. Come. Let this old man see what realm your Vajradharma body has reached. Yimeng naturally would not allow Xiaohua to single-mindedly break the seal. He slapped his forehead, and a black aura emerged from the top of his head. It rushed straight into the air and enveloped an area of several dozen feet around him. At the same time, the black gas produced thousands of ghostly wails and wolf howls. It was extremely ear-piercing. Following the emergence of the black gas, other parts of Yimeng's body also surged with black gas. This black gas was different from the black gas above his head. It was like thousands of tentacles covering Yimeng's entire body. A muffled roar came from Yimeng's throat. His body, which was already completely covered by the black gas, began to squirm like Zhang Qingxiao. The black gas on the surface also suddenly surged like boiling water. At the same time, an indescribable deterrence was emitted from the black qi, and it quickly rushed toward Xiaohua. Xiaohua sighed slightly. He clapped his hands and released the pressure of an early-stage gold core cultivator. He tried his best to resist this demonic deterrence that seemed to be baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. However, in just a moment, Xiaohua felt that something was wrong. This kind of deterrence from Yimeng seemed to be constantly surging over, and it was even climbing steadily. Very soon, it covered his own pressure. That feeling of being unable to resist and feeling of powerlessness came from the depths of his heart. Golden core. However, this is merely the threshold of cultivation. If I were to stay in the demon-resisting valley, I would be nothing more than a pawn. As he thought this, Xiaohua did his best to use his secret technique to deceive the heavens and cross the sea, slowly increasing the pressure. Little thing, you actually know the secret technique of pressure? A sharp voice came out from the black chi. It seemed to be different from the Yinming's voice. It was the voice of the devil world that Xiaohua had heard in Ling Pei Mountain Villa. Of course I understand. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing here. Xiaohua smiled coldly. He raised the wishful staff in his hand and prepared to fly towards Yinming. Just a little thing. You actually dare to show off in front of me. Where is your Buddhist Dharmakaya? To fight with a nobody from the devil world like you. Do I still need to use my Dharmakaya? Xiaohua said in a disdainful tone. You only know one Buddhist mantra, and you still dare to exaggerate? I'll let you see how powerful I am. As Yinming spoke, another angry roar was emitted from the black gas. Following the angry roar, the black gas suddenly expanded and stood upright in midair. The swarming black gas was like a fountain that shot upwards by more than 40 feet. A huge force was generated from the black gas, pushing aside everything within 100 feet. Even if Xiaohua wanted to fly to Yinming's side, he would not be able to do so. Xiaohua was helpless. He could only open his mouth, and the Dream Executor and Mountain Breaker flew out. They circled in midair and flew to the other side of Yinming. Just after the Dream Executor and Mountain Breaker flew past the black chi, the 4-feet-tall black chi let out a loud roar, and then quickly shrank. When the impact gradually disappeared, a 4-feet-tall giant appeared in midair. The giant's head was big, and its blood-red hair was curled into a ball. Its fist-sized eyes were black, and there were no ordinary eyeballs. In its bloody mouth, 2 long fangs stretched out obliquely, and a garlic-like nose poked the face that was bigger than a basin. The giant was completely naked, and the black gas from before had already turned into a demonic armor that covered his vital parts. There were strange patterns on the demonic armor, and the patterns were constantly overflowing with a pitch-black brilliance. In the middle of the patterns, the demonic armor was filled with a blood-red substance. Outside of the magic armor was the giant's strong arms. The muscles on the arms were bulging and glossy, and from time to time, there were traces of black chi going in and out of them. Grandma, how can I fight with this? Xiaohua was somewhat puzzled. Although he was considered a tall cultivator, it was impossible for him to be more than 10 feet tall. This Yinming's body was actually more than 4 feet tall. Standing in front of Yinming's body, Xiaohua looked like a child. Little thing, where is your Dharma body? This senior has been looking forward to it for a long time. Yinming roared, and the bloody mouth actually spat out a bloody light. An indescribable stench of blood permeated the whole place. Do I need a Dharma body to deal with an ordinary demon like you? Xiaohua sneered. His figure flew up, and the wishful staff in his hand smashed towards Yinming. Little thing is really a little thing. You actually used a magic weapon in front of this senior. The ignorant are really fearless. Yinming did not care. He waved his hand and clenched his fist towards Xiaohua's wishful staff. Yinming's fist was also a few feet in size. Against Xiaohua's wishful staff, cough cough, it was really a bit of an unfair victory. However, with a loud bang, Yinming screamed. Xiaohua's wishful staff suddenly hit Yinming's fist, causing black chi to splatter everywhere. Yinming's huge arm involuntarily shrank back, and even his entire arm was gushing with blood. You're not a magic weapon? Yinming sucked in a breath of cold air and said with some surprise, What this junior uses is none of your business. Just give me your life. Xiaohua's figure was like a shadow, and the wishful staff was raised towards Yinming's head. However, he was really shorter than Yinming. The wishful staff was no different from a matchstick to Yinming, but just now, he had suffered a loss from the matchstick. How could Yinming dare to be careless? His other uninjured arm patted his hand and took out a huge mace from his storage bag. Good boy, this magic weapon. I'm afraid it is 2 feet long. Xiao Hua watched as the huge mace was wrapped in a faint black aura as it streaked through the air. The sharp teeth on the mace let out a sharp screech. The sound of the wind and the pressure from a mace were produced at the same time. Xiao Hua couldn't help but be speechless. Fight! Xiao Hua was not afraid of this kind of fight. Although his wishful staff was really short, the courage in his heart was higher than the sky. When he heard his roar, the wishful staff turned around to meet the mace. Boom! Another loud noise, and the air was once again set off in midair, and the snowflakes that had been floating in the air were swept away. Xiao Hua's body flew back more than 100 feet, and Yimeng's figure also staggered and retreated. Kill! Xiao Hua's figure retreated, but his killing move did not stop. He secretly urged the Zhu Meng behind him to split the mountain, and like a meteor chasing the moon, it stabbed Yimeng. Humph! Yimeng naturally saw the two flying swords. Seeing the flying swords stabbing at him, he stretched out his hand, and the black chi on the arm that was previously smashed by Xiao Hua slowly retracted, and an intact fist appeared again. The large hand opened, and a shadow covered the area. It was as if there was a sealing force that sealed the space around the flying sword. The Dream Executioner and Mountain Splitter immediately felt as if they had fallen into a quagmire. Kill! Xiao Hua coldly snorted again, and his figure just stabilized. Following Xiao Hua's urging, the two flying swords suddenly emitted a green and red brilliance. As soon as this brilliance was born, it immediately began to blend, and a fist-sized heart shape was born on the two flying swords. Oh, sword intent. You actually know the sword technique? Yimeng was a little surprised, but the imprisoning force in his hand did not decrease. Thin black silk even grew from his fingers and hung down, quickly wrapping the whole heart shape. You're courting death. Xiao Hua sneered. The heart shape in the black chi rapidly expanded, and the black chi had no choice but to expand as well. When the heart shape was a few feet in size, it suddenly emitted a Jie sound, and a completely green and red sword light burst out from the black chi. A few feet long flying sword stood out from the black chi. Illusory sword? Yimeng obviously also understood sword cultivation very well, and could not help but be stunned. How can you be an illusory sword cultivator? Wang, as soon as the heart sword was born, it immediately emitted an endless sword intent. The sword chi also penetrated from the sword light, directly piercing towards Yimeng's big hand. Yimeng did not dare to be careless. His hand slightly rotated, and a cluster of black chi was born from the palm of his hand, wrapping around the heart sword. Go to hell! Xiao Hua roared, and his figure flew up again. The wishful steel staff crossed in midair, and the thunder under his feet moved. He borrowed the power of the staff and the sound of thunder from the staff, and smashed towards the giant Yimeng without arrogance. The wishful steel staff still had the sound of the wind, but under the roar of thunder, the sound of the wind could not be heard. The suffocating force above the staff stirred up the black gas on the Yimeng demon armor from afar. A strange flow of black gas and blood appeared on the Yimeng demon armor out of thin air. That you're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.